All right. Good evening and what up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Today we're going to be doing a live from a sort of a different point of view. Now, this is obviously an evening live, so it will not be ran in the same manner that we often run our other lives because this is more of a follow-up from a previous live. So I'm going to be more or less talking to the folks. Certainly, if a few folks want to respond, absolutely, that will be welcome. A few comments will come in. But this is going to be done more from a standpoint of yours truly speaking at the folks. So what we're going to be talking about, I will put it on the screen behind yours truly, because what we're going to be really discussing is the goal. That is, as you see on the monitor behind me, we're going to be talking about the goal of January 6th. What was the purpose? What were the participants attempting to achieve? That is what we're going to be discussing tonight. Now, we ran a live this afternoon during our typical time, but we're going to be doing this more of a podcast style. If a few folks would like to speak on the topic, you are absolutely welcome to do so. But that is the topic. And of course, we're running simultaneously on YouTube for those who want to go over to YouTube. Same name, The Handsome Liberal, is being ran live on YouTube as well. But the question we're asking is, what was the goal of January 6th? Now, I have a hell of a lot of video and clips I want to run by you because I've heard everything from it was a violent insurrection to it was a peaceful protest. We all know President Trump, number 45, stated that it was a love fest. So understand that regardless of how we analyze this, the program is and shall forever remain MAGA friendly. MAGA are always my preferred guests. But on the program, we certainly make it clear liberals are welcome. For the few folks we may end up talking to, understand when you do come on the program, we don't ban, block, or censor you for your commentary. But that is the primary purpose. So what was going on January 6th? Now, obviously, a couple months earlier, so to speak, not even quite a couple months earlier, by all intents and purposes, Trump had lost the 2020 election. Clearly, he did not believe that that was the outcome, and he was urging Vice President Mike Pence to not certify the election, give folks time to basically give Congress time to look into what happened, and if possible, supposedly there could be maybe a redo, a do-over for the 2020 election, or we don't know yet. And that's what I'm asking the question. What was the aim? Because here we are in September of 2023. And let's assume that Mike Pence had followed the direction of President Trump, did not certify the 2020 election. What could Trump have presented to make the outcome any different than it is now? Because as you know, they're still suggesting that Biden won the election. David Moore, we'll go straight to the box. Good evening, David. So if the device lets you in, because that's what I'm curious. I'm trying to find that out. I don't know if it's letting David in. We'll give it a second. But I want you in the meantime to hear a clip, because we're also talking about none other than Air Force veteran Ashley Babbitt. Now, I want you to see this video here. This is the unfortunate ending of the life of that Air Force veteran. Many folks are suggesting that what happened to Babbitt was unjustified, a miscarriage of justice. Others suggest it was a justifiable shoot. But I want you to notice on the monitor behind me, if you can get a clear picture of it, this is right up at that moment. And once again, I'm asking a question, What were they attempting to accomplish? That's what I want to ask. By the way, Ashley Babbitt, who lost her life in this event, what was she attempting to accomplish? So, if you will, I'll give you this and we'll talk about it on the other side. Now, real quick to interrupt, you notice that he is pounding on a window. That is an officer in uniform standing right there looking at him. So clearly it looks like the officer is in over his head and frightened. You notice the officer is letting him pound on the window, bust the window out, and he's standing there. He's standing a post, which is what he probably was instructed to do. But you notice that he's not putting up any resistance. And whoever this agitated individual is, whether he is MAGA, Antifa, Black Lives Matter, or whatever you want to call him, he clearly is proceeding to do damage to the window. So I'm going to take it back a couple seconds and we'll let the video play. Now, I don't know if you can hear through the noise. I may have to turn it down somewhat, the audio, but there are clearly folks in the crowd that can see the officer that took the life of Ashley Babbitt yelling, "He has a gun." One other thing I want you to see, let me see if I can take it back just a little bit here. If you notice the door that they're trying to break through, I'm trying to find a clear shot of it. There is all sorts of furniture barricaded against that door. So clearly, now you can see there through the right window there clearly is a chair upside down. Looks like there's a desk. They have clearly barricaded themselves in. We're talking about the officer that took the life of Ashley Babbitt and the individuals that were cowering behind the officer, security guard, or whoever he was. But if you can see there, they clearly have furniture up against that door. Nevertheless, these protesters are still trying to break through. So there's no denying that the people on the other side of this door are frightened to the point where they put furniture up against the door to barricade it, and the protesters are continuing to bang through. This is only a 56-second clip, but I do want to orate it. And I'll go to the box the moment the clip is over. I do see somebody in the box, so hang on a second. You hear the gunshot go off, somebody in the crowd yells, "It sounds like a fucking gunshot." But before the gunshot went off, there was no doubt, you could hear in the audio, he's got a gun. So these folks seen this individual with his draw his firearm, and they continue pushing on. I just want to point this out because folks are suggesting that how he reacted was unjustified. He is behind a barricaded door, and they are busting out the window, see him with the gun in his hand, and they continue to proceed. Just want to make that clear because I am questioning if he did not harm Ashley Babbitt or any of the protesters. What was he supposed to do in that situation? You've barricaded the door, and they're breaking through the barricade. And that really is it. That's Ashley Babbitt blurred out, laying on the ground where she was in the process of bleeding out. Going to the box, let's try David Moore once again, because that's what we're asking. What was the guy supposed to do? If this is an unjustified use of force, I'm curious for you folks to let your boy know, what was he supposed to do? I don't quite get that, but she did lose her life in the event. And we're going to cover a little bit more because at the end of the day, I'm trying to figure out what was the goal. Ghostface says it was a setup by the FBI, or better yet, it was a setup by the left. FBI was the cause. Well, let's assume what I'm reading on YouTube here, that it was a setup by the FBI or the left, and the FBI was the cause of it. Are we suggesting that Ashley Babbitt worked with the FBI, worked for the left? If what happened on the 6th was a setup, was she working in cahoots with liberals? What made her participate? I understand there can be a setup. I understand there are a hell of a lot of events throughout history that people do not necessarily believe the way it was reported. Everything from the JFK assassination to 9/11, the September 11th collapse of the World Trade Center. But if you believe what happened on the 6th of January, 2021 in Washington, D.C. at the Capitol building was a setup, what convinced these folks to go along with it? Remember, if a setup is taking place or being orchestrated in front of you, no one is forcing you to participate. So if it's a setup, what convinced her to go along with it? If I was to ask any of you folks to go and commit a crime or rob a bank or something, you don't have to do it. You know that, don't you? You do realize you have the God-given right to say no. So what convinced her to go along with it? Hilla 777. Good evening.
Good evening.
So I'm sure you've been watching the video. The question I'm asking is, what was the goal that day?
Well, I think she set herself up a failure trying to go through that window knowing he had a gun.
Do you believe his response was justified? A lot of folks are suggesting that she did not deserve to lose her life.
But he was backed in the corner. What you do when you got an animal backed in the corner? What's going to happen?
He's going to bite. If you got an animal backed in the corner, it's going to bite. So,
What it was, they started following this.
Go ahead.
Everybody do nothing this far. We just going to go on through that and go into Congress.
So what do you, so in regards to, yeah. So in regards to the topic presented, what do you think their goal was? Let's say January 6th turned out to be a successful day for MAGA. What would that have been like? What was their goal?
One of my friends reported it, and he told me the goal was for them not to certify the election that day. They wanted to wait a week later, and they wanted the votes to be recounted, and then they want to reconvene a week later. That's what their goal was.
Okay.
To reject the vote, and
so
they're gonna recertify them in a week later.
So busting through the window like what was seen there, is that what they were? I mean, because how would that be in line with what you're trying to accomplish? I mean, that's just looking like destruction of property.
Well, they didn't want it to be done in orderly fashion. They wanted much chaos as possible.
Yeah. Well,
I think they was doing something illegal. I don't know. That's what he told me. I think they was all wrong. That's my opinion, but that's not a fact. That's my opinion.
Right. So let me ask you this right off the bat. Do you lean politically left or right?
I'm in the middle.
Who did you pick in 2020, Trump or Biden?
Oh, Biden.
What about 2016, Trump or? What about 2016, Trump or Hillary Clinton?
Hillary.
So you voted for Clinton and then you voted for Biden. You're in the middle. What made you not pick Trump either time?
Because I thought they just put Trump there because he's real famous. He really ain't have no policies.
Well, you seen.
He's running up a George Bush plan.
Oh, but you seen Trump complete 4 years in office. How do you think did you view his presidency favorably? If you had to give Trump a letter grade for the 4 years he was in office, A, B, C, D, or F, how would you grade him for the 4 years he was in office?
I want to say he was doing all right to the pandemic, so I'll say I'd give him about a B.
So if you're giving him a B,
He's mainly running off the views of Obama.
okay, that's fair. But if you're giving him a B as in Baker, which is above average, why would you not vote to reelect him in 2020?
Oh, because just the way he starts spewing that nonsense about he wouldn't say if he was losing, he wouldn't confirm that Hillary won or this person won.
So
That's a sore loser.
so you're saying in 2020, you got echo.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're going in. You got an echo. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying in 2020, the reason you didn't vote Trump back in office, even though you gave him an above average grade, was because he suggested he wouldn't concede the election?
Yeah, and he kept on, and he downplayed the virus too.
Okay. So his handling of COVID.
Yeah.
Okay.
That played a part of it too.
Take away his handling of COVID and him suggesting he would not concede the election. Would you have voted for him again?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That's saying something. What about now in 2024?
Oh, no.
No chance at all. All right, listen, I'm gonna have to move it on because you got a real loud squeak in the background. Hilla, I do apologize, but I had to move it on. Something in your background sounded really like a high chirping sound, so I did have to move it on. Before I go right back to the box, I see somebody hanging on there. Give me a quick second. Just looking at that comment that came in, Ghostface suggested that it was a setup by the left. By the way, folks, I am running the program simultaneously on YouTube. So for viewers who, are watching it there, you can comment because of the subscriber situation on TikTok. But that's what we're asking. The actual goal of January 6th. What were they attempting to accomplish? A very successful day for MAGA on January 6th would have looked like what? Because I'm still curious as to what were they trying to do. Adriel Boylan, good evening and welcome to the program. So, in your opinion, what do you believe was the actual goal that they were attempting to accomplish on January 6th?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Their actual goal was to stop the election from being certified. Let me give you a scenario. If I have somebody outside the door of my house and they try to stop you from getting in, you pull your way in. Now I'm cooking something, so I got the burner on. Now I say, don't come in. You'll get your hand burned if you touch that burner. And I even try and physically stop you. You put your hand on that burner. Now, I don't know how you call that a setup. And where exactly does their responsibility begin and end?
Well, but they're suggesting that the protest on January 6th was peaceful. A hell of a lot of folks have been locked up. You hear the leader of the Proud Boys just got 20 plus years yesterday. Oath Keepers leader got 18 years, I believe, not long ago. So do you believe the amount of time they're giving out, do you believe the time fits the crime?
Yes. They were threatening our democracy.
Yeah.
They were threatening something that's been in place for hundreds of years. I mean, they're threatening our way of life.
But wait a minute. If President Trump truthfully believed the election was stolen and he was just there to have them hold off on certifying until they could do a recount, Is that a threat, a complete threat to our way of life doing that?
He got the information that it was a valid election from so many people.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't matter what you want to believe. Anybody can do that. But if you want to do something, you better be damn sure that it's by law, and you're not breaking that law.
So,
And to,
so in regards to President Trump himself, you do believe on January 6th he broke some laws.
I do.
Give me a law that you believe he broke on January 6th.
Inciting a riot.
But if he told them to go to the Capitol and do it peacefully, where does the incitement come in?
He is very smart, contrary to popular belief. He phrased that in a way that was good out for him.
Yeah.
And how does he break the law? He does it almost every day. As a matter of fact, today, the lady that he groped, he owes her more money. I just found out that today on defamation, if you know something, you shouldn't do it, and you keep doing it, how is it anybody else's fault but yours?
Yeah, I get the defamation of E. Jean Carroll, I think, is beyond a reasonable doubt. He said a bunch of things about her that are defaming her character, and he cannot basically cannot defend that. But in regards to January 6th and your statement that he incited a riot, with him being on record as saying go to the Capitol building peacefully, how do you make the leap to actual incitement? I mean, the go there peacefully essentially would block the incitement charge. I'm trying to figure out how do you go around that statement?
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Do you not think he had enough advisors around him saying that what you're trying to do is illegal?
Well, in regards to what though? What were they telling him that what part of it was illegal? And we also can understand that if he didn't believe the election was fairly held, maybe he thinks that his advisors are giving him bad information.
Well, I guess the thing I'm trying to say is, to me, he's just believing what he wants to believe and what's convenient and what's advantageous for him.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. But you would agree that that is his right to pick and choose who he believes, right? I mean, that's not breaking the law.
It's all for our right if he does something that breaks the law to bring him up on charges.
That is absolutely correct. But we're trying to figure out on January 6th, what did he do?
I think the burden of proof that he didn't know should be on him. If that's what he's saying.
He should have to prove what?
That he did not believe it, and he was genuinely thought that he won.
Okay.
I think he did have to. And as a matter of fact, I'm very glad. I've got my own beliefs and opinions, but they don't matter. He's got to prove his case in court, and that's what we're going through right now.
I'm totally in agreement with you on proving. However, I see it the reverse of what you're saying. When someone is criminally charged, the burden of proof is on those making the accusations, i.e. the prosecutors. The defendant doesn't have to prove his innocence. They have to prove he's guilty.
Okay, I'll go with that.
Yeah.
I see that. But even at that, like I said, I can live with that. Because I think there's such a preponderance of evidence that we're not going to have problems with it. The only thing we're going to have problems with is the aftermath.
Yeah. What do you? I gotta move it on, but I'll give you the last word. What do you predict the aftermath could be?
I hate to interject anything. I hate to interject my opinions.
Well, you can't. Well, come on now. You can't throw that out, Adriel, and not follow that up. I mean, saying you're concerned about the aftermath. You know, I'm going to ask that.
Well, look what happened on January 6th.
A repeat.
We've got a lot of people out there that believe in him, and you see a lot of people doing a lot of things, and it's mostly Republicans, and it's against the law, and sometimes it's murder.
A repeat performance.
So
All right, fair enough.
I'm
So I'm going to ask you a question. I got to move it on, but I do want to ask this one follow up because this is something you hear pushed back, a rebuttal from MAGA all the time. Do you see any bias or unfairness in the fact that a lot of folks protesting racial injustice who did damage to businesses and things like that did not face any criminal prosecution, but folks on January 6th are facing a host of time? Do you see any unfairness to that?
Well, I guess it all depends on the severity of the crime.
Well, you're putting people completely out of business.
Okay, and that, looking at it logically, those are businesses that can't be rebuilt. But the assault on our democracy was at the Capitol, and it was people losing their lives. And we have to stop that. We have to stop that.
Okay.
We have to nip that in the bud. If people see that they can get away with something, and that's where I think Trump is. If he sees he can get away with something and he is not punished for it, what is the reason to stop?
It's a fair point. Fair point. All right, Adriel, I do got to move it on. You're always welcome back. Is that first time talking?
It is, and I want to say just one quick thing.
Sure.
I've watched you for a long time now. I've really enjoyed it. You've got a lot more patience than I do, and you've taught me to be more like you. Thank you.
Glad to be of assistance. Come on back anytime. Appreciate that.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. Now, real quick on YouTube, I saw a comment. I certainly was interested in following up on it. Hey, I've been watching you for a few months and think you are a truth seeker. Sounds better than what my ex-wife used to call me. I'm wondering if you think of Trump has a, wait a minute. I'm wondering if you think of Trump has a clean win in 2020. Do you think a January 6th situation would have happened from the left? If Trump, okay, I get it now. The grammar seemed like, okay, the viewer on YouTube is asking if Trump had won, and I'll go to the bots after this response. Had Trump won on January 6th, clean, fair, for the most part, just like he won in 2016, even though Hillary Clinton was saying he stole it from her, which should give you the answer to where I'm going with this. If Trump had won in 2020, fair and clean, like the viewers say, do I believe the liberals would have reacted similar to MAGA on January 6th? Well, the answer is an obvious no, based on the fact that Hillary Clinton claimed that he stole the election from her in 2016. And MAGA did not. There was some protesting. I'm not going to completely exonerate the liberals. There were some protesting. But obviously, the liberals, believing that Trump stole the election from Hillary Clinton, did not behave anywhere near as, I won't say violently, but whatever the case, passionately. They didn't behave anywhere near as passionately as MAGA under the same circumstance. Probably because Hillary Clinton wasn't as passionate in her belief that the election was stolen as Trump has been. Big difference. Because I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a lot of evidence pointing to activist groups planning an insurrection. I can give you the YouTube link and you can watch on your own time. If you're sure, send me that link. I'd love to see it there on YouTube. All right, going back to the bots. We'll keep it moving with OYA024. The goal of January 6th. Appreciate you folks that are tapping the screen. Get your boy up to 10,000 likes. Let your thumbs not be lazy. Program is always will remain MAGA friendly. Nevertheless, I will challenge you on your opinions. Liberals are welcome as well. What was the actual goal on January 6th? Also talking about the Air Force veteran Ashley Babbitt. Was that a miscarriage of justice or a justifiable shoot? Oh, yeah, 024. Good evening. So, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, you can go ahead if you've been listening in, but I'm just trying to figure, what do you think was what were they trying to accomplish on that day?
Overthrow the government.
Repeat that?
To overthrow our government.
So,
the election process, like one guy said earlier.
yeah. So if you believe that they were attempting to overthrow the government, the follow-up question is this: were they doing that on their own, or were they doing that under the instruction of the 45th president, Donald Trump?
See, I believe it was Trump. I believe it was some Republican senators. I mean, there's evidence that, like, they were given tours the day before when the Capitol building was shut down for tours, and I'm waiting for them to dig into that, because the tours the day before, you see during the 6th hearing, they were showing how that a lot of them rioters knew the plans of the layout of the building. So it was a coordinated attack.
You could be right, but at the end of the day, we gotta attribute that to speculation. They're giving them tours of the building.
Well, okay, nothing has been proven in court.
Right.
But there's evidence of it happening. Right? They have more evidence that they coordinated this attack than they have than the Republicans have that it was a stolen election. It was thrown out at how many different courts? 60.
But let me ask you, based on what you said. You said that you believe it was an attempt to overthrow the government. You said that you believe there's significant evidence that it was coordinated. So it leads to the obvious question: if you're going to have a coordinated attack to overthrow the government, why are there not more weapons present? Everyone there that is participating in that should be armed if you're trying to do something like that, right?
Well, yeah, but let's say this: the plan was to stop the vote, right?
Yeah, but you said trying to overthrow the government. So hang on, it's a difference between trying to stop the vote and overthrow the government.
I mean that's part of the overthrow, because now when you look at what happened on the 6th, and then you look at the fake electors, I mean it was a coordinated plan, to stop the votes, and then they wanted Pence to recognize the fake electors, to throw it up in the air and say they have to send it back to the state because they have a question about these fake electors. It was a coordinated plan.
So I have to go back to the original question. If it's coordinated, why not more firepower? You would have to realize all of the Capitol Police are armed. I mean, when you see these folks showing up with flagpoles and bear spray and basically clubs. How could that be? The coordination of that has got to be elementary.
So they had guns outside of D.C.
Yeah, but you need them there at the Capitol building, not outside of D.C.
But they had to go through security checks too. And if it would have dragged on, I believe they were planning on shipping them guns in. They had people outside of D.C. waiting to bring guns in. So it didn't go exactly as they planned, but
But who would plan?
I believe it was a plan.
But think about what you're saying. Who would plan to storm the Capitol building unarmed, take on the Capitol Police for the most part unarmed, then ship the weapons in later? I mean, if you're going to go against the Capitol Police, go ahead.
Yeah, so you see how successful they were, and this is just part of our racist society. But you see how successful they were at attacking the Capitol with no guns.
Right.
And I mean, this is just plain and simple, because if that would have been, like they keep saying Black Lives Matter, if that would have been them attacking the Capitol. I believe there would have been hundreds of dead people. But they were successful in entering the Capitol with no guns. They were successful in breaking it up. Ashley Babbitt got to where she got because they were successful in attacking the Capitol. They didn't succeed, but they got in the offices. They chased senators around. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They were successful to a point. So imagine, well, if they would have had guns, it would have been like open warfare, right?
If they had guns, if they were trying to do what you're suggesting and they all brought firearms, then I think they would have probably succeeded. I mean, they were outnumbering Capitol Police dozens to one. But the idea that it's a coordinated attack, as you're suggesting, and the goal is to storm the Capitol building unarmed and then bring the weapons later, that doesn't make sense tactically.
Well, I mean, look, these are not a bunch of bright people.
But you just said it was coordinated by senators and Congress people.
So if they were, I mean, I'm serious. If they were really as bright as they pretend to be, they wouldn't have done it that way anyway. There's a lot of the people. I mean, they thought they had the right. They thought they had the might. They call themselves the silent majority when their guy lost. By an overwhelming number of votes, right?
Right.
But they don't believe that. They go back on with it. I mean, there's evidence there was a plan taken. And as far as Trump inciting that riot, if you look at what he was saying, he did say go peacefully, right? But if I tell you for a month that these people are stealing your country, that your country's getting stolen from you, and then on the day of the riot, I say, well, go down there, and he did say during that speech, he said, you're not going to take your country back by being nice. He did say that also. So are you going to remember the one time when he said go down peacefully, or are you going to remember the hundreds of times when he said Democrats are taking our country, you're stealing our country away, they stole your votes. These people were angry before that day. They were angry on that day. He said things, and Rudy Giuliani said things. He said it's all
but the way you're phrasing it is that we're going to skip over we're going to give less credit to the go peacefully and target all of the more exciting phrases.
So if you're mad and you truly believe, like these people truly believe their country was stolen, so how are you going to tell them one time that it was go down there peacefully? You know what I mean? He had them ginned up. He had them all thinking that the election was stolen, that these Democrats stole the election. They cheated. There's ballot stuffing and all this stuff they were saying before the date, the 6th. And then on that one day, he says, during that rally, before Trump spoke, Giuliani said it's armed combat. Trump said himself that you're not going to take your country back by being nice.
Yeah.
He said other like violent rhetoric, and the Dems are stealing and all whatever. But to lean on the fact that he said that one time and all this other,
I get your point. He said, I get your point. He was more aggressive in his statement more often than he was with the go peacefully. I get that point. But he did say go peacefully. That's the problem. He did say that.
He said it once.
Yeah.
He said that. Well, we don't know what the goal was. Well, I believe they can prove it in court, like the last gentleman was saying.
All right.
There's enough evidence to show that this was a coordinated attack. I'm sure there is more evidence that they have to bring the charges because they have to believe that they can, convict them beyond a reasonable doubt, right?
That is absolutely true.
And they're not gonna take charging an ex-president lightly. So they have to come fully loaded. They have to come, with a lot of evidence.
Well, some would suggest with 2 failed impeachments, they have shown an example that they do take charge of the president lightly and throw it around. But I gotta move it on, all y'all. You're always real quick. Go ahead.
Those 2 failed impeachments, though, was a political thing, though. You got to admit that. Republicans refused to impeach him on both accounts.
And that was predictable.
Mitch McConnell said in the second one, well, we're not going to, they weren't going to do anything because the voters can't do it. And then when he got voted out, he didn't believe it. But I appreciate your time.
Hey, anytime. Come on back anytime. Oh, yeah, appreciate that. All right, looking in the comments, and he went on, and by the way, Christina, definitely appreciate the subscription. Thank you very much. And he went on TV asking them to stand down. That is true. However, that's one of the big outcries against the former president is that he took several hours before going on television. Now, in regards to what my last caller was stating, whether or not there is enough evidence to convict Trump, the go peacefully will be used in his defense, and the fact that he took several hours to tell folks to stand down will be used to go against him. So both sides have some ammunition to present. So it's really going to depend on the jury. It's really going to depend on the jury. But at the end of the day, it does go back to what was considered to be free speech. But real quick minute, and we'll go right back to the box. I do appreciate you folks holding on. Tap the screen. Get your boy likes up to 15,000. A couple hundred folks in here. Now understand the question we're asking is, what was the goal of, let's just say, the Trump administration entirely, whether we're talking to MAGA, Trump supporters, or the president and his administration itself? What was the goal on January 6th?
Now it is up to Congress to confront this egregious assault on our democracy. And after this, we're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down. We're going to walk down anyone you want, but I think right here, we're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and Congress.
We're going to cheer on. I didn't see much cheering. That's a funny. I've kind of been re-listening to this. I don't remember seeing the supporters doing much cheering, more like chanting. But I don't know if I heard a lot of cheering.
Congressmen and women, and we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them, because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength, and you have to be strong.
What
to confront?
What is the? Oh shit! I didn't mean to rewind it. But what is the interpretation of "you got to show strength"? That's what my last caller was talking about. How do you interpret that phrase? When you're telling folks that are a bit upset, they believe the election was stolen from them, and you're telling them to show strength. How do you show strength? I understand it can be interpreted either way. I want to hear from you folks. How do you show strength during a protest like this?
Probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them, because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength, and you have to be strong.
Okay, and there's more, obviously, to this speech. I didn't know it got canceled that early, but I would like to know, I want to hear the part about going peacefully, but how do you show strength? You can't do it if you show weakness. How do you show strength? I want to give you a quick example, going to the box real quick. Here is a quick example of somebody allegedly, on January 6th, being clearly willing to show strength. It's kind of comical, but this actually happened.
So he said they have dissuaded him from coming to Capitol Hill. They told him they don't have the resources to protect him here. So at the moment he is not coming, but that could change.
I would come down and punch him out.
Oh, I know, I would pay to see
I'm
that.
waiting for this, for trespassing on the Capitol grounds. I want to punch him out, I'm going to go to jail, and I'm going to be happy.
Nancy Pelosi, none other than Nancy Pelosi suggesting that if President Trump was in her face, she would go to jail for punching him out. Wow. Going to the box. Nancy Pelosi with the right hook. Wow. Going back to the box, we'll keep it moving with Misfit 2114. Asking a question, what the hell was the goal on January 6th? A successful day for MAGA would look like what? What say you, Misfit? Good evening.
I got one thing to say that like whenever our country is being attacked, they usually take the vice president and put him somewhere safe, and then they usually take the president and take him and put him somewhere safe.
They did both. Trump refused the evacuation, but they did attempt to do both of those things.
But that's my point. Why would he stay if he's saying that it was Antifa or he felt threatened? Why would he stay?
Did President? I get what you're saying. I don't. Did President Trump himself? I saw everybody from Janine Pirro to a host of folks in support of Trump suggest it was everybody from Antifa to Ray-Ups to Black Lives Matter, but I never did. Trump himself suggest it was Antifa.
Yes, yes, plenty of times. He said it was FBI, Antifa. He keeps switching every time. It's something different. But if he felt threatened, why did he stay? You know, whenever we're being attacked, just like 9/11, as soon as the attack happened, they separate the people that's higher up in government to make sure we have continuity of government. So why didn't the president go? He was sitting there drinking and watching it on TV.
Well, the response that came out during the January 6th hearings, according to the testimony, President Trump, when they were trying to evacuate him, for the most part, kind of insulted the Secret Service and told them, they're not here to hurt me. You know, basically like, you don't have to take me out of here, you fool. They're not here to hurt me. I don't think Trump felt threatened at all on January 6th.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. If it was Antifa or somebody else, why didn't he feel threatened? Because he's saying that I don't feel threatened, then he knows that the people that was there really wasn't a threat to him.
And I agree with that part. I mean, they got a sea of MAGA gear all over the damn place. But just because the people there behaving that way were no threat to Trump, is he responsible for their actions?
Actually, yes, because you can't take credit for when something is good. You can't take credit when you're making, America great and everything. But when something's bad, you can't say, I'm not going to take that credit too. You got to, if you're the president, you're taking credit for everything.
Every politician in Washington does what you just said cannot be done. They all take credit for the good and blame the bad on somebody else. They all do that.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. And the ones that do it also should be held accountable. Like they should be, their words should mean something.
I get the credibility.
He's taking all the good stuff. He should have to take the bad stuff too.
Okay, I get the
man up and just.
Yeah, I get the man up and take credibility part, but we're talking about an actual crime. Not taking credibility is not a crime, though, is it?
No, but the crime is just if just like if the person was robbing a store and somebody was sitting up in the car, or if you told them, you put the idea into their head, you are accountable for giving them that idea. He actually gave them the idea of going. He knew that he lost. He just pushed it to make people to rile his crowd up.
And Christina, I see your comment. Christina's asking me, how do I keep a straight face? I enjoy the conversation. But no, in regards to putting the idea in folks' head, we all occasionally do that. Whether telling somebody, when I was a kid, we would tell each other to jump into maybe it's a lake that's deep. I mean, putting an idea in somebody's head is not a crime. We all have done that. Whether you're trying to get a chick to sleep with you or whatever.
But the difference is we're not the president. You know what I'm saying? The president is something different. When average people put something in somebody's head, that's something different. But when you're the president, not really of America, basically the leader of the free world, you know what I'm saying? He's the president. That's why when people went there and they say, oh, we came because we thought we was following orders. That's why it's more it's a stronger push.
But you refer to as putting an idea in somebody's head. Is that legally an official crime? Have you ever heard of somebody being charged with putting an idea in somebody's head?
Yeah.
Give me an example. Where did someone get charged with that?
What? When does somebody get charged with that?
Yeah.
People do that on a daily basis. Did there be older people to say, "Hey, why don't y'all go steal these cars and bring them back to me? I could." That's putting ideas in somebody's head. It's still a crime. If I had a chop shop and I wanted somebody to steal cars for me, I said, "Yo, go out there and steal some cars for me. You bring them back. I could break them down." That person wasn't thinking about stealing the cars until I told them to.
But if I tell you, hang on, if I tell you to go steal some cars and bring them to me so I can chop them up, until I take custody of the stolen merchandise, I haven't committed any crime. Even though I put the idea in your head, as long as I don't accept the property, I haven't committed a crime.
The crime, when it comes to Trump, the crime was having people to go fight for their. If tomorrow you won't have an America, like he incited them to go. You know, he could say when he said that, he could say go there peacefully, but he said go fight. You know what I'm saying? It's different.
So what about the part where he did say go peacefully?
What? A couple of hours later?
No, he told them to go to the Capitol building and go peacefully.
There's no way that like even having these type of conversations is just out there for me, because how is it do this? Switch him with Barack Obama. Would anybody be going through this?
Oh, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not gonna argue with you on that. I get that Obama may have received. Go ahead.
Well, even Nancy Pelosi, anybody, just switch him out for somebody else. Would his side be still having this conversation?
Well, that's politics. If it happened in reverse, you are correct. If it happened in reverse,
you can't say that's politics. If it's wrong if anybody else do it, it should be wrong if he do it.
I don't disagree with that at all. Just like we're complaining about Trump saying the election was stolen, but we didn't say anything when Hillary said it. It's politics. You favor it when it's your side doing it. You despise it when it's the other side.
No, but she said it before the election. He said it after the information came in. He said it not Hillary was just saying it. He said it to make it look like he won. She didn't say it to make it look like she won.
Well, I don't know. I think we're kind of playing word games at this point.
If you're going to do something or say something to make, and you know what you're saying isn't true, he knew that he lost.
Well, how do you know that? How do you know that he knew he lost? He is saying he didn't know that. How do you know? Can you prove that he knew he lost?
Yes.
How?
Because the people that he had around him, what's his name that just made the story about himself, the guy, I'm not a criminal, he got the tattoo on his back, pardon him.
Flynn?
Pardon him.
Flynn?
No, well, they were following him. He was doing the documentary. They was following him at the beginning of January 6th. So he was talking naturally, not even remembering that the cameras were behind him. So it wasn't like he was acting or anything. He forgot the cameras was there. And he said, that's why they lost. He know he lost. He's going to just push it.
Okay. But and if that
we have people that's around him, that was around him, that are saying that I told him. Like how is it that he can never do anything wrong? You know what I'm saying? There might be some of these charges that are blown out of proportion. You know what I'm
But,
saying?
but now let me respond to that. You asked a really good question. How is it that he cannot do anything wrong? And by the way, folks, get your boy up to 20,000 likes. Let your thumbs not be lazy. I would appreciate if you tap the screen, get the likes up. Helps out the algorithm, brings in more MAGA. In regards to your question, how is it that he cannot do anything wrong? And then you followed up by saying, yeah, there's maybe a few of these charges that are suspect. The fact is, that is what's causing all the problems. Is that some folks think that some of the charges are bullshit, thereby hurting the credibility of all of the charges. You're even admitting that some of the charges are suspect.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. But I'm saying, like, on one side, I really don't want to take sides, but on the side of charging him, everybody is saying the same thing. On the side of the people defending him, everybody has a different scenario of what he's doing, when it's going to, like, if what he's doing and everybody was on the same page, why does everybody on that side have a different scenario, whether he's running the president, he lost, he won, or they getting some new evidence? Like, everybody got a different scenario of what's going on.
I don't disagree that they got different scenarios, but that doesn't make it a crime. You don't have to have all the ducks lined up to plead innocence. I don't know if you've presented evidence of a crime. I do get to what you're talking about, where it's solid on the liberal side against him, and there's all types of different defenses on the right, but none of that equates to a crime. But I do got to move it on, Misfit. Appreciate you coming in, though.
Thanks.
Absolutely a pleasure. Come back anytime. All right, looking in the box here. I didn't see what that. And I do, the guy with the tattoo, you said Roger Stone. I do appreciate that comment there. Looking on YouTube real quick. Not everyone there was pro-Trump. Questions about the validity of an election are for everyone. That is 100% true. I don't know about the part about not everybody at the rally was not pro-Trump. I can't speak on that. I personally was not there. I would assume out of thousands of people, you may be correct. Maybe one or two of them were not pro-Trump. But if you were questioning the validity of the 2020 election, chances are highly likely, and I put emphasis on highly likely, that you were pro-Trump. Because I still stand by the statement that we are nearly 3 years out from that election, and Trump didn't claim there was fraud or suspicious ballots or the Dominion voting machines appeared to be possibly left wide open security-wise. Trump claimed he won by a landslide. And here we are nearly 3 years later after the election, and I have not seen evidence, even seeing 2,000 Mules a half dozen times and listening to a host of shit, everything from Mike Lindell's Cyber Symposium. I haven't seen evidence that he won by a landslide. I've seen evidence of some voter impropriety that we can talk about, things that look suspicious that we can certainly allude to, but he didn't say that. He said he won by a landslide, and he said it on election night. I have not seen evidence, and we're nearly 3 years out, that he just literally smoked Joe Biden and won by a landslide. The only thing I've seen that could even make that seem possible is his sheer crowd size compared to Biden's. However, we know that during the election, the country was closed down and Biden's side of the aisle was telling people to stay at home. I don't think Biden would have competed with Trump in crowd size even if the country was open, because he's not competing with him now. But you cannot judge an election solely on crowd size. If the man says he won by a landslide, he should have far more evidence than crowd size. I just know I have more conservative views. I am a cafeteria Catholic. Never heard that before. I started voting conservative for my pro-life views. Appreciate the comment, Lee Bugaboo. And by the way, if you are pro-life Catholic, yeah, you have no business voting Democrat. I mean, that particular principle is widely protected far more by the conservative party than it is by liberals. I mean, there's some pro-life Democrats, but if you're true blue pro-life Catholic or Christian, yeah, you probably should be on the right side of the aisle. Going back to the box, we'll keep it moving with America First. Okay, can't argue with the name. America First. Talking about obviously the goal of MAGA on January 6th. America First. Good evening.
Hey, handsome.
Howdy. Are you using a different name? The voice sounds kind of familiar.
Lady Maverick.
Okay, all right. So what do you think they were trying to accomplish on the 6th of January in 2021?
Well, January 6th, okay, we went there. Most of us were at the monument, and most of us were peaceful. We went there to simply protest.
What happened?
Protest. I stood there probably from 6 a.m. till right at like 12 p.m., right? 12:15 or so. We never seen Trump until about 12:30. I actually heard Trump when I was walking out. But I can say that being the naive person that I was in 2021, I was going there. I would have went to the Capitol if it wasn't for my cousin who's well traveled. It was like, no, this is not. No, we're not doing that.
Why did your cousin, who obviously was out there with you to show support to the former president, why did he all of a sudden say no, let's not go to the Capitol where they were going to support Trump?
Because when we were at the monument, it got weird. So MAGA has a vibe, right? We're pretty united, but it got pretty. I want to say like the word hateful is a good word. It got pretty hateful. People were starting to argue and fight and just kind of. I mean, it felt infiltrated.
Okay, it got hateful. You seen people having disagreements with each other, but outside of that, what else did you see that would lead you to believe it got hateful?
So on the way to the car, we were in that main parking deck. I forget the name of it. We were in that main parking deck. I never went to the Capitol. I've already given my route and all that to the appropriate people. So people can say whatever they want to say. But anyways, so on the way to the parking deck, we would ask for directions. I'm from North Carolina. I don't know anything about D.C. The cops literally did not want to give us directions.
To the Capitol. Were you?
The DC police were acting like they did not know how to get back to the parking garage. Now, looking back that day, I was just like, what is going on? Like, this is weird. But I was in so much pain because it was literally standing room only. Like, I have a fallen left arch, so I was in excruciating pain. So I was ready to get in the car and come back to North Carolina. But it was just very weird that people did not know, like the DC.
But that doesn't sound. But what you're talking about doesn't sound hateful. And I'll ask a quick question. When you asked the DC police for directions to the Capitol, were you donning MAGA gear? Did you have on things that said you support Trump?
No, I don't know. I don't wear hats. I have really thick hair. I was freezing to death, so I had a coat on. No, I had no MAGA gear.
Okay, because I'm assuming that maybe they received a report over the air to not send anybody to the Capitol building. There was obviously with all of the Senate and all of Congress in there, I believe the building was closed to the public at that time anyway. So they got the barricades and everything around the building. So I'm assuming they wouldn't have wanted you there to begin with because it was not currently open.
I have a different opinion looking back, Handsome. I have an opinion that if you can't tell me how to get to the parking deck in the city that I forgot the name of it. The main parking deck in DC. It's where everybody was parked at, right? So if you can't tell me how to get back to that main parking deck, do you want me to get lost and wander in?
Well, in my opinion, if you hadn't got lost, if all of MAGA that were there, all of the folks supporting Trump, if they had all gotten lost, they would have probably had a lot less unity at the Capitol building. So I think they may have preferred it.
Well, I can tell you that all Trump supporters there were not lost. A lot of us, some people were obviously familiar. Once we got into the groove of walking, we could basically follow the crowd. It's the biggest parking deck there. I forgot the name of it. But if it wasn't for my cousin, I would have been at the Capitol because I had no idea.
So what is
There's no permits, it's blocked off. None of those signs existed. And as we were walking to the parking deck, where it forks off to the right, where the Capitol is, like, there were people, it was a little bit infiltrated, and people were saying, F Antifa, whatever, and my cousin looked at me and was like, just shut up. She'd been to Australia, she's been to Europe, she's very well traveled, and she was like, just be quiet.
Did you see anybody? Did you see anyone there that day that you believe were representing Antifa?
I've seen them get off the buses with my own two eyes.
And how did you know they represented Antifa?
Because when they got off, they were not in MAGA gear. So the bus pulled up, right? The bus pulled up, all these people got off, they walked around behind the bus, and then they came out in MAGA gear.
But
They were known to us.
But you stated you yourself. Wait, hang on. I asked you when you talked to the Capitol Police, and you admitted you yourself was not even wearing MAGA gear. So what's the difference? Because somebody could have saw you and thought you were Antifa.
No. Because when people, so when people were driving there, right, like me, I drove from North Carolina. I've been driving 6 hours, right? So when I got there, my cousin and stuff, they changed into their Trump sweatshirts. I just didn't feel like it, right? But I just don't believe that all these people got off the bus and nobody was in MAGA gear. Nobody. They all got off the bus. They walked behind the bus. The bus sat there as if it was blocking them.
But here's where I'm confused. You admit that they showed up on the bus. They did not have on MAGA gear when they got off, and then they changed into it. And then you said yourself, driving from North Carolina, somebody who came with you also got out of the car not wearing MAGA gear and then changed into it. What makes your party any different than them on the bus?
It's not gonna be every single person. It was every single person. That was my problem. That's what made it like the freaking light bulb go off. Okay, why is every person getting off in a line and walking behind this bus? And this bus is sitting here, it's not moving. It's not moving forward, it's not going anywhere. And then once everybody's changed into their MAGA gear, the bus drives off. I'm going to assume that's the setup.
So
looking back, that day I did not realize what it was. But looking back, I do.
But I'm just listening to what you're saying, and it really sounds like the only difference between them and you is it just was more of them. You're saying, well, because you had more people that were not wearing MAGA gear, and I only had one.
The whole bus. Every person got off, walked behind the bus, changed, then walked from behind the bus, and then the bus drove off. That to me is sus, dude. I'm sorry.
But is that I get your comment that it's suspicious, but is that the normal method of operation for Antifa? Where else have we seen Antifa get off a bus somewhere and put on a bunch of MAGA gear?
I'm not well traveled, so I don't know, but my cousin spotted it. My cousin's very well traveled. She kept me away from the Capitol building. She was like, no, that's some bullshit. We're going back to North Carolina. But, it was just my cousin was like, we're not. No, I went there. I had no idea. That's the thing. A lot of us didn't know. We didn't know we couldn't go there. If it wasn't for my cousin, I'd probably be in prison.
But here's what just to follow it up though with the folks getting off the bus and what you witnessed appearing suspicious. Where does Antifa come in? They did something that looked suspicious in your opinion, but why are we suggesting that has to be Antifa? What about their suspicion ties them to Antifa?
Because it was every single person.
Yeah.
It was every single person. Why?
Yeah, but you admit.
They walked in a line behind the bus. The bus bus, waited for them to change. They walked from behind the bus, and then the bus drove off. To me, that's a planned thing.
I'm not disagreeing with you in regards to saying this looks suspicious. Well, I'm just saying, how does it why couldn't it have been the feds, or why couldn't it have been the local police dressed in this MAGA trying to instigate something? Why couldn't it have been Black Lives Matter? What makes you say it's Antifa?
Handsome, I believe the majority, not Black Lives Matter. I believe there is some sincere people in the BLM movement, okay? But I believe that the majority of it is infiltrated.
You believe the majority of it is what?
Infiltrated.
You believe the majority of Black Lives Matter has been infiltrated?
No, Antifa.
Infiltrated by who?
The feds.
So you believe the majority of
like the feds have hired or brainwashed people, all of that, all these psyops they do on the American people and globally. I think America is the biggest bullies in the world. Okay, so I believe that it was infiltrated, whether that was feds getting off that bus that I see, or whether it was people who truly believed in their movement. I know what I see.
All right, fair enough. All right, appreciate that, America First. Always a pleasure talking to you once again. I do got to move it on, but my door is always open to you.
All right, handsome, see ya.
Absolutely. Stay out of trouble. Catch you later. All right, and I do appreciate those folks who are following the program. We do definitely promote civilized dialogue, both sides of the aisle. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. You never have to agree with the host on this program. It is always about free speech, allowing the folks to speak. I will never censor, block, or limit your time simply because you have a disagreement with yours truly or anyone in the comments. By the way, appreciate you folks that are tapping the screen. Get your boy up to 25,000 likes. Just in regards to President Trump, I want to hear the peacefully part. And I saw a clip. It's only a few seconds long, and I will go back to the box if I can get my computer to act right, and we'll keep it moving. But I do want to hear what Trump had to say there that day.
Words from the former president's speech on January the 6th. They will lean heavily on Trump's use of the words, quote, peacefully and patriotically when they make their case in the Senate. And that's part of the defense against the charge that Trump incited a mob of supporters to storm the Capitol. House impeachment managers focus...
Okay, apparently she's talking shit and I don't hear Trump. I wanted to hear Trump. I actually was looking for that on the internet here, but apparently it looks like there are more reporters basically narrating it than seeing Trump. But I want to hear it because I want to hear in context where he was, how he said it, and things of that nature. So, but it doesn't seem like it appears there. Looking quickly in the comments section here before we move it on. Antifa has been seen busing into other cities. Like, I'm from Minneapolis, and that's what happened the second night of the riots. Also, the riots in Kenosha. I've been to both cities. I was in Kenosha not long after the riots there with Kyle Rittenhouse and things like that. But as I was saying with the last caller, simply having folks get off the bus, not donning MAGA gear, wearing plain clothes or black clothes or whatever the hell they had on, and then changing into MAGA gear, no court is going to automatically assume that action right there alone makes them Antifa. It's just not enough. Because what the hell would we do if someone who did not like Antifa decided to pose as Antifa and cause mayhem on January 6th? You got to actually catch the people, or at least get some folks on tape saying, yelling at Antifa or something. You just seeing somebody get off the bus, not wearing clothes and changing the clothes. That could be anybody. It could be an agitator. I'm not going to say it may not be an agitator. Hell, it may be Antifa. But that alone is nowhere near enough evidence in any court of law to go around saying, yes, it's Antifa. It kind of reminds me, for you folks who are old enough, The movie The Warriors, where they, the Warriors did it. The Warriors, you can't go around shouting that shit out. Obviously, it ended up being a hell of a difficult night for the Warriors when they had it blamed on them. Fortunately for members of Antifa, that claim did not sink in to most of America. It certainly worked throughout the ranks of MAGA. I mean, I was watching Fox News on the evening of January 6th, and Judge Jeanine Pirro, many of you folks are familiar with who she is, she said that night on television from a studio in New York that it was Antifa. Not even there. Just threw that out. It's Antifa. How do you know that? Like I said, I'm not saying it might not have been Antifa, but I've been listening to the amount of evidence presented. There's just not enough there to make that leap confidently. I mean, which is why I asked the last caller, is that their method of operation where they show up somewhere in plain clothes and then they switch over to MAGA gear? Because if you saw them do it that way on January 6th, and that led you to believe they were Antifa, where else have you saw that where it would make you feel confident, yeah, that's how they operate? Looking in the comments before I go right back to the box. I thought it was Antifa for the first couple months because MAGA doesn't usually do that stuff. I think it was the feds at this point, if anything. Well, in regards to thinking it's MAGA, better yet Antifa, and this is coming from YouTube, that was Midwest Yo said, in regards to suggesting that it was likely Antifa because MAGA doesn't operate that way. Well, as I just stated, neither does Antifa. There's no evidence of Antifa normally operating in that manner, showing up on a bus full of folks getting out without MAGA clothes. How many incidents have there been nationwide? And we know Antifa's been everywhere from Seattle and Portland all the way over to the East Coast. How many incidents where Antifa has been involved in some type of protest or outbreak where they were wearing MAGA clothing? How often have we seen Antifa wearing MAGA clothing? I don't believe there's ever been another accusation of Antifa donning MAGA gear. So the fact that folks put on MAGA gear on January 6th does not fit their method of operation, which is what my viewer was saying, that MAGA doesn't operate that way. That's why I thought it was Antifa. Well, Antifa doesn't operate that way either. Where else have you seen them get out of their clothes and put on "We Support Trump" gear? I've never seen that. Maybe somebody can tell me otherwise. Going back to the box, we'll keep it moving to Keisha. I think I clicked on to Keisha. Oh, Gen X. Gen Xer. Good evening. Talking about what was the actual goal. What were they attempting to do on January 6th? Gen X, what say you?
What is up, my brother from another mother? How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's always a pleasure talking to you, man. I'm trying to figure this out. Because I'm hearing folks suggest that it was Antifa. Do you believe Antifa instigated what happened on January 6th?
You know, Tim, I was sitting here watching your program. I got done doing my billing and all my stuff for work. And I'm just sitting here enjoying your program, and that woman came on. It was a couple of years ago. I ran into a guy in a bar. I didn't know him. I don't know who he is. It was kind of a conversation that I overheard. And he was saying the same thing, that he was there. I kind of blew it off because I'm not a big conspiracy guy. But he was saying that he recognized a couple people from Rose City. I think they're called Rose City Antifa. Women in particular that had gotten off of a bus on J6, went behind the bus, and there was MAGA gear on hangers and hats, different sizes, and they were handing them out. And the bus was pulled into the corner of a building so they could, I don't know, it was, and I never thought about it twice until the woman was on your program. I was like, holy crap.
Now you can speak free. You can speak freely. You can always speak freely here. But let me ask this question for shits and giggles, because this would likely come up in a court of law if Antifa was brought up. Is it not possible to be both Antifa and a supporter of Trump simultaneously?
I don't know. The fair answer to that is I don't know, and for me to speculate on that would be bullshit.
Okay.
I mean, I suppose it could be.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking that is because we know Antifa, anti-fascist is what they're named. They're not a big fan of big government. We know folks on the right are not a big fan of big government, and we know MAGA doesn't trust government at all. So there is a lot of similarities. I mean, it's possible they could have been Antifa and MAGA simultaneously.
Teamed up, man. Talk about a dream team.
Yeah. Yeah, because we often try to suggest that Antifa is with the liberals, but they don't. You got folks, particularly MAGA, my beloved MAGA, calling the liberals communists and fascists. Antifa stands for anti-fascist. So it doesn't make sense for them to be liberals.
Well, like I said, Tim, I hadn't thought of that for literally a year or two, and when this woman said that, I was like, this dude wasn't so crazy. I was like, I'll be damned. I'll be damned.
Yeah. But you're admitting also though. Yeah, but you're admitting also that now that you've admitted you can be Antifa and MAGA at the same time, for all you know, you could have been watching MAGA get off the bus and just simply put on their clothing and proceed on their way.
Well, I don't know who it was, and I'm not going to say I do because I don't. I wasn't there. But her story is consistent with something that I heard just kind of randomly that's like, holy crap. Yeah. And this guy said that he had a bird's eye view of, different MAGA-like uniforms almost. And what struck me as odd after I listened to this woman was that he pointed out that when everybody was geared up, there was shirts and hats left over that went back on the bus. Yeah. It's like they brought uniforms. That kind of throws a red flag in my head.
Yeah. But keep in mind, right? But keep in mind, you are listening to the testimony of just one individual that was there present that day. You and I both know a variety of stories have come out from what took place there that day. So while one person seen what may look like Antifa, somebody else may have seen them and thought they were Black Lives Matter. I mean, you're going by the testimony of one single person with no photographs too, right?
I'm not suggesting it was Antifa. In fact, I don't know. What I'm saying is that her story is consistent with something that I heard in passing, and that just kind of makes me go, holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Because I blew the guy off. I was like, whatever. Hadn't thought about it twice in over a year and a half.
Yeah. Well,
as far as Antifa, a similar pattern of behavior, Antifa did during some of the riots go to the black neighborhoods with pallets of bricks and try to hand them out to the brothers. And the women, the black women, said, "No, what the fuck you know? They
wow.
Brakes on that shit."
Yeah. Well.
Brakes on that shit. So what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, even with
a similar pattern of behavior.
Well, you're talking about handing out bricks as opposed to changing into MAGA gear. I don't know if I would consider those two as similar. Getting off the bus and putting on MAGA clothing is not the same as handing out bricks during a Black Lives Matter rally.
Well, the pattern of behavior is similar as far as being antagonistic.
Yeah. Well, the woman walking through the halls.
I'll give you that. It's a stretch.
Yeah, the woman walking through the halls yelling 1776 might be viewed as antagonistic. I think just about everyone that was in the Capitol building that day could be referred to as antagonistic.
Sure.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Yeah, fair enough. So let me ask you this before I move it on. Ashley Babbitt, miscarriage of justice or justifiable shooting?
No, horrible miscarriage of justice. You're talking an unarmed woman. Here's my position on that, Tim.
Sure.
An insurrection means the unlawful overthrowing of a government. What sane person in their right mind does that unarmed? How do you overthrow a government unarmed?
Okay,
Now, is it a protest? Was it an inappropriate protest? Sure, that's arguable. Very subjective. But insurrection? They didn't even have a fucking pocket knife on them.
I want you to, in regards to the question I asked you on Ashley Babbitt, I got a 56-second video here. I showed it earlier in the broadcast, but you probably weren't on. I want you to watch this because we're talking about Ashley Babbitt and alleged miscarriage of justice. I'm going to ask you a couple questions, but if you can see the monitor behind me, I want you to take a look at this. It starts out with the cops are standing there holding the door. The guy that took her life is behind the door, and these guys are breaking through the window, but they end up getting through. But I want you to watch this. I'll kind of narrate it and ask you questions along the way. Now there's some pauses in it. I believe that's because they're swearing. It's not something. It's not a malfunction on my side. I believe the editors of the video took out the swear word, so you will hear pauses in audio. But if you notice on the monitor, you're looking at a police officer in uniform staring down one of the protesters, and he really is kind of standing down as this guy continues to bust through the window. But once he breaks the window out, I want to show you something in regard, because Ashley Babbitt is in this crowd and the guy who takes her life is on the other side of that window. But I want to show you something and I'm going to ask you a question on it. Now, I'm pausing it because I want you to, if you can see where I'm pointing here on the monitor behind me, right there where my hand is, they have furniture barricaded against this door. So clearly the people on the other side of the door obviously feel threatened. That's something that you would do if you're afraid, maybe a gunman in a hotel, active shooter, you put a bunch of furniture up against the door. They're trying to get through this heavily barricaded door. Now, I'm gonna play a little bit more of it and you will hear the protesters yell out, "He has a gun." And you hear the shot go off. So I want to ask you, they're on the other side of the door. They clearly have furniture and chairs piled up looks like about almost 6 feet high, trying to barricade themselves in. This crowd is trying to get through there anyway. What do you believe the armed guy on the other side of the door was supposed to do?
Well, it's clear that Ashley Babbitt has long hair. It's clear that it's a woman coming through. And he said he has a gun. If he said he has a gun, why shoot the woman?
I don't think he might have not tried to shoot her specifically. The whole crowd is trying to break in there. I'm asking you, what do you think you should do? Just stand down until they get in?
Everybody else did. I wouldn't have taken someone's life. There's no gun. I don't see a firearm, Tim.
You're talking about.
Somebody came in brandishing a weapon. Yeah, of course.
You're talking. Well, wait a minute.
Brandishing a firearm.
But you're talking about an infinite number of people. Do they really need a gun to be harmful?
To use deadly force? I think so. I mean, why is deadly force okay then, but not okay at other times? You know what I mean? Like let's say, for instance, the kid in Cleveland who had the toy gun that got killed.
Tamir Rice.
That was a fucking tragedy, man.
Yeah.
And that cop should pay the price. You should know, as a law enforcement officer, the difference between a weapon and a child's toy.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't want to get. Yeah, I don't want to get too deep into Tamir Rice. I want to ask you this in the comments. Arsha Fine says you can beat a human being to death. Let's say you were that officer on the other side. How would you, I know you're saying you would not have fired because you didn't see a firearm. Do you feel like you would have been safe if you were the officer on the other side?
I don't know. I don't know. That's a hard question to answer because, I mean, when you're in a situation like that, your situational awareness completely changes.
But wait a minute.
I don't
You
know,
you
Jim.
wait, hold on.
I don't think I would have.
You got the door. You got the door barricaded. Isn't that a sign alone that you don't feel safe?
Not to kill another human being.
No, but you're saying you don't feel safe, and the people you feel unsafe for is literally trying to bust through the door to get to you. What are you supposed to do?
They weren't, but that's a misrepresentation.
Okay.
They weren't trying to get to him.
How does he know?
They were trying to get into the building. Again, they weren't armed. She wasn't armed. She didn't have a firearm. She wasn't pointing a firearm. She didn't even have a knife. She was unarmed. There was nothing in her hands. She had she was in clear sight. I don't think it was justified, man. I just don't.
So I'm asking you if you were a law enforcement official under that same circumstance where you have barricaded yourself in and they're trying to break through the barricade, you would just let them do it and just stand there?
Everybody else did, yeah. Nobody else shot. There was one individual, there was one officer that fired a shot, just one. He made a bad judgment call. We all do it. It's just he made a bad judgment.
You don't see.
Now here's the thing. Let me say this. If 5 of the 7 officers, or even 4 of the 7 officers, would have brandished their weapons and fired at her, then I would say, okay, all of them felt unsafe, so that's a fair statement. But it was one individual who made a bad judgment call and shot her dead.
But you have even.
The same danger.
But you have even admitted yourself, if you were that one individual, you would have felt unsafe.
Well, yeah, of course I would have felt unsafe, but I wouldn't have shot her.
So you have
Shot somebody.
you feel unsafe, you are armed, and you do nothing? You just let your safety, you just hope for the best? They're clearly trying to break through a barricade and get to the area you're in. And you just hope for the best, you do nothing?
I would do what my peers were doing, my fellow law enforcement officers, and if nobody else fired a shot, I would read the room, and I know you're familiar with that term. I would read the room and withhold my fire. Yes.
You're reading the room, and in the course of reading the room, you see a bunch of folks trying to bust through a window and overcome a barricade, and you ignore that part?
Yeah, I would take the lead from my fellow law enforcement officers. You're talking, again, there was several officers there, 5 to 7 officers. Yeah, I'm gonna trust the instincts of my brothers, man. Absolutely.
So let me present it. So I get that you believe her taking of her life was a miscarriage of justice. Let me ask you this. Do you believe Ashley Babbitt holds any responsibility in her life being taken?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think she made a bad decision, and I don't think that's an unfair statement. And I will give you that. I think she is responsible for her own death because she made a bad choice. But that being said, I also believe that officer made a poor life choice and took another human life when he shouldn't have. I don't think he should have done
Would
that.
you agreed with the phrase I threw out there, miscarriage of justice? Would you give him prison time for what he did there that day?
Because of the circumstances, as much as my heart, my ego, and my pride wants to say, yeah, you should fucking rot and go to jail, my common sense and logic says no. Because that's a tough,
Yeah.
bro.
Would you take his, okay, so you wouldn't incarcerate him. Would you take his job and pension away?
I'd definitely retrain him.
Okay, so in other words, you don't think what he did. So how do you retrain somebody to deal with 1,000 people trying to break through a barricade? 99.9% of police will never face that scenario. How do you retrain them? What are you going to train them to do in that scenario?
So you know what? Let me recant that.
Okay.
I don't know how all that works with pension and shit like that with cops. I think that I would definitely not let him keep a career in law enforcement.
Wow.
I think a poor life choice to take the life of another human being, yeah, it's unforgivable because you can't give that life back.
Wow.
That's something you can only do once.
That's cold. That's cold. All right, Gen X. We obviously disagree on that, but hey, it is what it is. Come on back anytime, man. I do got to move it on, though.
All right, brother. Hey, you have a nice night. Always a pleasure talking to you, Tim. And peace out, my brother.
Absolutely. The feeling is mutual anytime. All right, looking in the comments. By the way, if you do enjoy civilized dialogue, both sides of the aisle, without any concern of being blocked, banned, or censored by the host simply for having a difference of opinion, you are in the right place. Feel free to follow the program. We always observe First Amendment free speech rights. Program is, always will remain MAGA friendly in its entirety. So understand, MAGA are my preferred guests. Liberals are welcome as well. That's how we run the program here. Going to keep it moving. I was surprised. Gen X leans right, obviously. Gen X supports Trump. You know, I hear folks talking about everything from personal responsibility to the now rather popular phrase, fuck around and find out. And some of the same folks that state this believe that Ashley Babbitt did not deserve to lose her life. In my humble opinion, her actions were the definition of FAAFO. I just, maybe I'm getting it wrong, but the crowd is yelling he has a gun, and you continue to proceed forward anyway. My point, and I'll go straight to the box, I don't care if it's a bank robber, an individual with a badge on, or even a toddler. If someone is pointing a gun at you and yelling instructions, the last thing you want to do is proceed towards that person against those instructions. I don't see any other way. I don't see any other way that you could do what she did and not expect to potentially eat lead. Maybe I'm wrong. Going back to the box. We'll keep it moving. Takesha, welcome to the program. Takesha, set your boy straight. What am I getting wrong?
Let me tell you something, Hampton. You took so long, you push him up, breathing treatment back. But listen, Ashley Babbitt should have complied.
Yeah.
Like they tell us, she should have complied. If you got to break in a window, that means you ain't supposed to be in there. You ain't had no business coming through that window. That man told you to stop. You should have took your behind back through the other side of that window. You should have complied. And I don't agree with the last guest telling me he would have just did what his fellow officers would have did. That's just like saying if somebody breaking in your house and they coming through your window and your wife saying, I ain't scared. And you gonna sit down and say, well, I ain't gonna shoot because I'm gonna do it y'all. I'm just gonna go on and fall in line. I ain't scared either. Just let the man come on in the house and take our stuff.
Well, you know something, it's interesting you say that, because in regards to one officer reading the scene and acting in the manner that all his other officers are acting in, a lot of the controversial shootings we see on television, it's often one guy doing this shit and the rest of the cops are standing by watching it. So everybody from even when Rodney King, going back 30 plus years, when he was getting beaten, there were several officers standing around watching that. So even the cops themselves do not always behave in the same manner as other fellow police officers on the scene.
And do you know how many people those poor officers were trying to fight off?
Yeah.
There was way more people than officers. And I don't care if they officers or not. They are human beings. And I know they were scared. That's why they didn't do as much as they could. Because what could they do, Hansel, with all those people?
Yeah, in the beginning of the video, you see the cop there when the guy is busting at the window, and he's standing there. You can tell he's scared.
What are you gonna do? Run at the man and get beat down by the crowd?
Yeah.
I
Well.
always stood there too, like I ain't see him doing it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he was doing. So I tend to.
Let me say this too.
Go ahead.
Everybody that say they was at the January 6th ride was not at that January 6th ride.
4 months after.
If I hear about that bus hiding in the corner of the street one more time, Handsome, I done heard about that bus about 54 times.
But
if one person hears something, they're gonna repeat it, and they're gonna add to it. When we used to go off to church service with my pastor, we always in the bus with our regular clothes on. When we got out, we put on our choir robes because we was going to perform.
you didn't put on MAGA gear?
And people ain't got off nobody bus and put on no doggone MAGA gear.
Well.
Just cut it out. I want these people to stop taking one story they hear, swearing they saw it, and add to it. Cut the crap.
Yeah, and this is you see on the monitor behind me. This is what I was talking about. You can see this cop is frightened. He's not doing anything. He's standing there. They're clear.
I wouldn't do that either.
Huh?
I wouldn't do that either.
Yeah. There's nothing you can do.
Time he jump at one on the crowd gonna jump in.
Yeah. The only thing that's
trying to make a home for his family.
yeah, the only thing that's and there he is now. He's been pushed aside and he's over to the far right. Just standing there. They literally moved him out of the way so they could bust into the door. But yeah.
The man is scared.
Yeah. And there's a host of them that are like that. The African-American guy that's running up the stairs, they're chasing him. It's pretty clear that those cops were frightened there that day.
What they was trying to do was get into that chamber to get that box that them certifications was in. Because if they got that box them certifications was in, we would have had to vote all over again.
So
that was the goal of getting in there on that floor.
So let me ask you the obvious question. Let's assume they succeeded and got their hands on that box, and we had to vote all over again. You think Trump could have pulled it off on the second vote?
Biden would have won by a bigger margin because the people that were mad that actually are true Americans that were mad at what they did to the Capitol would have voted against Trump for what happened.
Fair enough. All right.
But let me say this, Council. Let me say this, because you asked the question about Trump saying go down there peacefully.
Yes.
Okay. Trump had been saying that they stole the election from him even before the election took place. So he had been saying that for months. That's just like me telling my child, your dad ain't shit. And I'm going to say your dad ain't shit for months and months and months. And then 1 month, we going to see him in the store, and I'm going to say your dad a good man. What the hell you think your child going to do?
That's an excellent way of stating that. That's
what you think my child still believe? My dad ain't shit. So it don't matter how nice I try to frame him up that one time. He still ain't shit in their eyes because I done put this in their head.
Yeah, the way you said that's an excellent point. That if you're constantly framing something one way, you're not going to be able to unframe it with one single phrase. I mean, I don't disagree with that.
And I got one more thing, and I'm gonna let you go. It's called. He ain't gotta say, go to the Capitol and fight. It's suggestive language. That's just like me being on a date with a man. And he said, let's go back to my place. He ain't saying now time, let's go have sex, but that's what he want to do. He just said, let's go back to my place.
But that's not a crime. But that's not a crime, though. That's not a crime.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this. He told them to go there and do that, but he didn't say the words, but he used suggestive language.
But why isn't go peacefully suggestive?
Because it was only said the one time. They knew Trump didn't mean that.
Wow.
That
That
just explain that to you.
I get your point. I'm just
You
saying.
gonna sit up and you gonna tell them to go peacefully, and then you gonna put Rambo and all them up on the stage and tell them to go fight. You know, one of them up there with their bulletproof vest and everything on. You know good and well, and they up there, Rudy Giuliani up there telling them folks to go down there and have food and all that. Come on now, you think they gonna remember you saying peacefully?
I want to agree with you. I'm not. In fact, I'm not disagreeing.
But you don't have to agree with me, Ansel. But this just my opinion.
All right.
It was suggestive language, regardless of whether he said peaceful or not. And all the months before then, he was giving them a reason to act a whole fool.
But let me counter with this. We know that not Feinstein, but what is the woman, the black woman Congress in Maxine Waters.
I know exactly.
Maxine Waters. Maxine Waters has made suggestive language as well. Should she be held accountable in the same manner?
Did anything happen?
Yeah. People were getting confronted when they were coming home from dinner and things like that.
Did any fights or shootings or anything happen?
No, but so in other words, you can make suggestive language in your opinion as long as the folks don't follow through. Is that where does the crime take place? If the language is wrong, it's wrong. Rather, just like if you take a shot at a cop, just because you missed doesn't mean it's not still a crime.
I'm not saying Maxine Waters is right because she was wrong too.
Okay.
She had no business saying what she said.
Okay.
None of them have any business to rile up a crowd that's already riled up.
So do you think Trump should face criminal charges for the suggestive language?
I think Trump should face criminal charges for when you sit up and see all the stuff Jack Smith got on him.
Okay. All right. But not.
I want you to wait because what I want you to know is Jack Smith ain't no tinkerwink, and he wouldn't have brought charges if he ain't got evidence, baby. Y'all ain't seen what this man got, but it's all gonna come out. And I really hope that that all the stuff in Georgia stay on TV, because this one thing I do know. The MAGA's gonna watch it because they think that these folks finna try the stolen election. But what they're gonna find out is they superhero has been lying to them for a long time about a lot of stuff he been doing. I hope they watch it with the wrong motive in mind, so some of them can change.
Yeah. Well, I do agree with you. I do agree with you on the part that folks believe that Trump is going to be able to state his case in regards to the election, and they're going to just object. That's irrelevant to the case. It's not going to be allowed. So I do agree with that part.
The thing is, he can't. You can't be the defendant and give your you gotta. This is for the prosecutors to prove your guilt. You ain't finna get up there and talk about no election.
Yeah.
And what numbers you thought you had and stuff. That ain't how this court proceeding finna go. Bless the ones hoes who think they finna get proven that the election was stolen. They need to know what a court case is all about when it's tried.
Well,
So much.
as some might suggest, that certainly will be found out. All right, I do got to move it on though, Takesha. Appreciate you being up with your boy this time of night. Catch you on the next one.
Welcome.
Hey, anytime.
All right.
Anytime. All right, looking in the comments, they won't watch it, unfortunately. I don't know, Kathleen. And by the way, thank you folks for subscribing. I don't know. Because it's different when if you support Trump. I'm talking to my beloved MAGA as always. And by the way, folks, tap the screen. Get your boy up to 40,000. So plenty of you folks in here this time of night. You could be any damn where you want to be. Do appreciate you rolling with your boy. Civilized dialogue on both sides of the aisle. Nobody's getting blocked. Nobody's getting banned. We don't do that here. But in regards to the suggestion that MAGA will not watch Trump himself being tried, I don't agree with that. And I'll tell you why. It's a difference when you talk about the January 6th hearings or some of these other cases that are done in Trump's absenteeism. He's not there. And you believe it's a bunch of, bullshit or a bunch of witch hunts trying to go after Trump. It's a big difference when he is actually there and being allowed to speak and say inflammatory shit or stick it to the liberals, as some folks might believe he does, or whatever the case may be. I do believe in support of Trump, that folks will be watching his trial. And let's make it clear, Trump is an attention hog, whether you support him or you do not support him. We all know Trump is an attention hog. I mean, that's how he's made a hell of a lot of his money, certainly with The Apprentice on television. So it wouldn't surprise me if Trump himself gets on Truth and tells his supporters to tune in and watch. I want you to watch the liberals trying to railroad me, or I want you to watch me stick it to the liberals. I don't think Trump is going to do that and not advise his supporters to tune in. I do believe that he's going to tell folks to watch. So my humble opinion is I believe that all of the networks, it will be preemptive. It will preempt all of the typical coverage. So you will be watching the Trump trial. I mean, it's the first trial of a former president in U.S. history, I believe. So you will be watching that on all of your ABC, CBS, NBC, you know, when normally The View or General Hospital or some of these other shows would be on. It's going to be on all day. It's going to be on all day because he has to be there. He actually has to be at these cases. So for what they say, I think they estimated 4 weeks or something like that, or a few months, however long the trial lasts. Daytime television on all of the networks, ABC, CBS, Fox, NBC, and all of the cable news networks will be that trial. It will be that trial. So I don't believe it's going to be a case of MAGA not watching that. I just don't. Because there's nowhere you're going to be able to turn and not hear about it. Whether you watch Newsmax or MSNBC, it's going to dominate the coverage. It's going to be all over us talking on TikTok, all of your social media talking heads, everybody from the Chris Cuomo's to the Ben Shapiro's, everybody is going to be talking about it to the point where you're going to actually have to actively make an effort to avoid not hearing it. You would have to find a rock and put a sheet, comforter, and pillow under there and sleep to not hear about Trump being tried. It's just going to be everywhere. My opinion is probably going to be in a host of other countries too. I mean, if you live in England, that's just going to be all over TV. If you live in Australia, it's going to be everywhere. You're talking about a former president who is currently also running for the next president, being charged with some of the most serious crimes, such as trying to steal an election. That's what they're charging him in Georgia with. So it's going to be everywhere. You're not going to be able to avoid that. Looking in the comments, many of us voted Trump because I couldn't stand Biden. He has proven to be a liar in 1988, the first time he ran. Now I am pro-Trump, full-on conspiracy theorist. Well, Biden got hit with plagiarism, and yeah, Biden has told some lies. I'm not going to even pretend for a second that Biden is, you know, his mouth is a prayer book or he's always telling the gospel truth. Biden has said things that are not true. However, leaving Biden, voting against Biden because you do not like dishonesty, and picking Trump doesn't fall under the category of being logical. Trump tells a hell of a lot of lies too. Some would suggest he tells even more. But I'm just simply saying, if you feel that Biden is dishonest and your response is to vote for Trump instead, you're not getting honesty by doing that. You may be getting the policies and legislation you prefer from somebody who leans right, but you're not getting honesty. Trump, biggest inauguration crowd in history. I don't know who the hell Stormy Daniels is. You're not getting honesty by switching over to Trump. Just want to point that out. You're getting lies that you don't have a problem with. Maybe you have a problem with some of the dishonesty from Biden, and you don't really give a damn about the stuff that Trump is lying about. Like Stormy Daniels, for instance. I don't care. He did that before he became president, or, I don't care about inauguration crowd. That's not a big deal. I care about the economy. Okay, that could be a fair point. But fact is, he is lying about a lot of stuff. He's not being honest. It's just something you may have a different of opinion on. Looking in the comments, 37,000 while in office. That's unheard of. You're suggesting co-op 79. Appreciate that subscription. You're suggesting that Trump told 37,000 lies while in office. I can't speak on the validity of that or not. I'm assuming there's probably some site out there that will list all 37,000 lies. Yikes! I'd be curious to see how many Biden is told though, or Obama. You want your doctor, you can keep your doctor. I mean, they all say things that you can later prove were not true, but 37,000 of them is literally insane. Wow. Trump told 30,000 lies while in office. It is documented, says Kathleen. Yeah, I'd have to see that. Wow. Yeah, that's the first question. And you guys can feel free to direct message me things to make the point. If you feel like I'm getting something wrong, I don't fault anyone. I don't criticize anyone for correcting yours truly. That is what free speech is about. The host is not a know-it-all. Never will purport to be a know-it-all. I learn a lot from you folks, and hopefully some of you can learn from yours truly. AC Officer, thanks for the subscription. Appreciate that. So we're asking a question. You see on the monitor, what the hell was the goal of January 6th? If Trump and MAGA had a successful day on January 6th, what would that have been like? What were they trying to achieve? What were they trying to accomplish? We're going to go back to the box. I want to read a comment real quick. No, actually I didn't. I was trying to go to the box. We'll keep it moving with my voice, 57, Miss Ray. Good evening and welcome to the program. What was Trump and those who support the former president, what were they trying to accomplish that day? My voice, good evening.
Good evening, handsome.
Appreciate that.
First off, thank you for letting me get in the box and kind of clarify a little bit of this. Why? Because there was more than just one rally before J6.
Okay, that is true.
Okay, there was one in November, one in December, and one in January. I was at all three.
Okay.
All three. And I got receipts for mine. You go into my account and you can see that I took aerial views.
How did you do that? How did you you use a drone? How did you get aerial views?
I threw a drone up.
You were able to fly a drone that close to
I threw a drone up. It wasn't up far. It was up far enough that I could get what I wanted to get, but I threw a drone up.
I'm surprised they would even allow. I own drones. In fact, let me stand up real quick here. I've been a big fan of flying drones. Here's a fairly large one. I fly a lot of drones with cameras and shit like that. But they got them often programmed that they don't work that close to the White House.
No, we wasn't that close to the White House.
The Capitol building?
We was coming into the park, okay, to hear him speak. So y'all gotta realize is that they're not showing you how many people that was actually there.
Okay.
Okay. They're only showing you the people that was at the Capitol. And let me tell you something. And like I said, I got receipts for mine. We couldn't even get we could only get into one airport. And it took us 4 flights to try to get in. And that was Thurgood Marshall Airport.
Okay.
The first two we drove down. But you couldn't even get, it was just that many flights that was booked to the Guild. The only reason why I got a room there at the Hilton Capitol is because I booked my room 2 weeks before time.
Wait, let me interrupt you. What were you? You were obviously part of the crowd. What was the goal? What were you guys trying to accomplish there that day?
It wasn't what we were trying to accomplish. What we wanted to know is we wanted to hear the reading of the ballots that came from the states. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you something, and believe you when I tell you, if Donald Trump wanted of the insurrection, why did he ask Nancy Pelosi to put in 15,000 National Guards and she turned him down?
Which leads to, and I've heard that before.
Wait, now.
I wanted to answer that. Go
Not
ahead.
only did she turn him down, but the guy that was over the Capitol, he was a Black American. He quit, and he told his story. He said he didn't really know that all of that was about to go down, but Nancy Pelosi's daughter did.
Okay, let me respond. Let me respond.
Nancy Pelosi had an opportunity to have National Guards there.
How did now?
It was 7
Okay, wait a minute. Hold on. Hang on. You're covering a lot. Kathleen in the comments, and she's not alone in saying this. A lot of people were suggesting that it was not Nancy Pelosi's job to get the National Guard there that day.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I'm going to tell you why, because she's the Speaker of the House.
Okay.
She was the Speaker of the House. He offered her National Guards, and she turned him down.
So.
Not only that, let me also tell you this. Donald Trump was 45 minutes late coming out to speak to the crowd.
When did he request the National Guard? When did he request the National Guard?
He requested the National Guard 5 days before J6.
Okay. Why did he request the National Guard?
Because it was told to him, and even before the other two marches. See, the other two marches, they didn't tell y'all how Antifa did us. A lot of us got jumped on and beat up. Why? It's because the mayor of DC, only way that you can get to the march, a whole bunch of us had to take the railways.
Okay.
Okay? She shut the railways down and it kept us trapped in DC.
Okay, but I'm still trying to. Why did he request the National Guard 5 days ahead of time?
Because he knew that there was going to be a crowd there. Because the last march in December, it was crazy. When I tell you it was people there, the Amish don't get into political. They're not political people.
Okay.
And the Amish was there in their horse and buggies, not just 1 or 2. We're talking about 2 and 3 miles of buggies.
All right.
Okay, Amish don't do that. Amish people don't do that.
Somebody's afraid of the Amish?
No, he wasn't afraid of the Amish. He knew that the crowd was going to be a massive crowd. And he knew the last march, Antifa trapped a lot of us in. And it was a big craziness. So that basically he was trying to not only protect us, but anybody else, whether it was Antifa, Black Lives Matter, whoever.
Okay. Let me sum up. I want to.
Okay, go ahead. Let me please tell you this.
Go ahead. I want you.
On that day, I had my granddaughter there. Okay, I would never put my granddaughter in any danger. Okay, at all. Okay, let me tell you something. That morning, we wasn't supposed to leave the hotel until like 9 or 10 that morning because I stay at the Capitol Hilton. Every time I go to D.C., I stay at the Capitol Hilton.
Okay.
And if you know how far the Capitol Hilton is, not that far.
All right.
Okay. I heard that morning we went to bed because they closed Harry's down. And Harry's is usually where everybody hang out. It's Harry's. Okay. When about 5 o'clock in the morning, I heard like just big noise, like have you ever heard like a roar of people talking?
Yeah, okay.
What's going on? So I told my granddaughter, I said, Trinity, get up and see what's going on. So she opened up the curtain. She said, Granny, you won't even believe this. And I'm like, oh, Lord, tell me they're not downstairs fighting. That's the first thing that came to my mind. Are they down there
Okay. I gotta move it along. I want to ask you something based on what you have said so far. These are some of the terms you stated. You stated that you've been to 3 different rallies and you knew after going to the first 2 that, with Antifa, things have gotten crazy. Use the phrase, it was crazy. You said that the last march, Antifa was present. You also said that Trump wanted the National Guard to protect everyone. So I have to ask you this question. Based on all of the things you've seen, and even your admission that Trump knew it could be crazy and wanted to protect everyone, can you explain to me why, without any National Guard present, even if it was Nancy Pelosi's fault, as you say, why go ahead with the rally when you know the security that you actually want present is not there? Why would you continue with that, knowing security is not present?
Hold it. And let me tell you why. Because they said they had enough of the Capitol Police to handle the crowd. They had
Who's they? Who's they?
The Capitol Police did.
Where's the evidence of that?
That's what was told to us.
Based on who? Who told you? Who did you hear that was told? Who said that was told to them?
It was told to Trump by Nancy Pelosi that we didn't need no National Guard in there because they had enough people to secure the perimeters from the Capitol Police and the DC Police. Okay, let me tell you. Not only that, you couldn't walk or drive everywhere because they had blocked off. Most of the streets with those big old sand trucks. You know what the sand trucks are?
Okay.
Okay, they had them all blocked off. It was only one way that you could go. You could either go straight or turn around and head back out. You couldn't go the side streets because they had them all blocked off.
All right. So I do got to move it on before. Okay, hang on.
You couldn't drive down the street. Only way that you could get down the street, you had to walk down the street.
So when Trump said go to the Capitol building, even though he mentioned peaceful, I mean, what was the purpose of sending these folks? Huh?
Because hold on, that's our constitutional right.
I didn't disagree with that. I didn't say it was illegal.
Every election, listen to me good. They have to read from every state how the ballots was coming in. See, but a lot of the congressmen, a lot of them can challenge them ballots. They can challenge it, but they didn't do it because of this uproar. Yeah, I feel, and I'm gonna say it, and I stick to it till the day I die. That was a setup.
By who?
By Antifa and Black Lives Matter. They got film. Let me tell you something. They got a documentary where they showed, and you had one on there with a cap that wasn't a cap.
Wait a minute, hold on. Okay, so you believe that Black Lives Matter set it up. What do you think Black Lives Matter did to make the setup happen? What did they actually do?
Let me tell you something. You might not know it. Which George Soros is not over his affairs anymore. His son is. Okay? Fact. I know this for a fact. Because one of the guys in BLM, and I never will forget it, I used to go out and wave flags and everything. And one day me and him, he came over and talked to me. He said, Miss Ray, he said, I have to respect you. He said, because, you out here and this and that. I said, well, why are you out here? He said, because I'm getting paid. I said, you getting what? He said, I get paid. I said, Anthony, are you serious? He said, yes, ma'am. He said, I have a child to support.
Okay, but I understand, but I'm trying to figure out what did Black Lives Matter do to make people go in the Capitol building and act that way?
But I don't
Then if you don't know, how are you suggesting it's a setup?
President Trump was still speaking. Those people was up there. Ain't no way. Let me explain something to you and trust and believe what I said. If we, the people, really wanted to take that Capitol over, it was over 1.5 million people there, darling.
You're saying that on January 6th there was 1.5 million Trump supporters present.
Yes.
I don't know. I think you may have the numbers a bit overstated.
Let me explain something to you. It was shoulder to shoulder.
1.5 million.
People there, all 17 blocks. Let me tell you, sweetheart,
Okay.
all they had you couldn't even see in fact, you couldn't even get on the mall, period.
Yeah. Well, I got to move it on, but the authorities suggest there was a lot less people there.
It was a setup. But whatever you do in the dark, whether it's Trump, whether it's Biden, whether it's Obama, whether whoever it is, whether it's me or you, whatever you do in the dark, I've always been told it'll come to the light.
Amen to that.
Set you free.
Amen to that. All right, I do got to move it on.
One thing about it, the truth will set you free.
No disagreements there. No disagreements there at all. Come on back. You know my doing.
You gotta tell, I'm gonna say this and you can go one lie. You tell one lie, you gotta keep telling lies because you gotta cover up with that lie that you done told.
Fair
So
point.
no matter if it's Trump or whoever it is, whatever they have done in the dark, it'll come to the light.
Okay.
It may not be what you want it to be, but God will make a way that it'll come to the light.
All right, I got to move it on. Okay, all right, what's done in the dark shall come to the light. Now, many folks might suggest that's what's happening in Georgia, or maybe that Jack Smith is actually shedding light on something. It could be, but she did say whether it's Trump or Biden or Obama or somebody else. I will also state what I often state. If Trump won by a landslide, we're approaching year 3 since the 2020 election in November. If he won by a landslide, we should have seen some light, as my last caller put it. We should have seen more light on how the election was stolen from Trump. There should be more evidence than this. I'm here to listen to folks who are on both sides of the aisle. Just like I say on the program, I don't block bandits or anybody. Whether we agree or not doesn't matter. But if I seen solid evidence that Trump won by a landslide, for you folks who follow yours truly, you know I would challenge that. I think I'm fairly savvy at playing devil's advocate. If I thought Trump was on to something suggesting he won by a landslide, I wouldn't dismiss that. I might lean left, but I don't consider myself to be a closed-minded liberal. I've watched Dinesh D'Souza, 2000 Mules, half dozen times. I watched Mike Lindell's 3-day cyber symposium twice. Hell, I've even watched Sheriff Joe Arpaio try to prove Obama was born in Kenya. I watch a lot of right-wing affiliated media, so it's not that I don't just dismiss it, but yeah, if I truly believed that Trump had evidence that he had won by a landslide, I would certainly be challenging some of my left-wing callers with it. There hasn't been that. And I certainly, taking yours truly who leans left, taking me out of the picture, I damn sure believe a hell of a lot more Republican judges, senators, Congress people, and governors would absolutely give Trump his fair shake if he was able to show the Republican Party he had won by a landslide. So we're talking 3 years. It's almost to the point where another election is coming up, and I don't know of a single Republican senator or governor or judge or any of these folks that are suggesting, yeah, you know, he's right, the liberals took it from him. I'm talking about Republicans. I'm not talking about Democrats. I can get the belief that Democrats are not going to judge Trump fairly. I understand that. But there is not even any Republican politicians that are suggesting that Trump won by a landslide. You may get it out of Matt Gaetz or Marjorie Taylor Greene if you catch them at the right time, but the Republican Party overwhelmingly believes that Trump lost that election. Are we to believe everybody in Washington is lying and Trump is the only honest guy out of a host, literally hundreds of politicians? It's hard. That's a tough sell. That is a tough sell that one guy is honest and everybody else is lying versus everybody else may be telling the truth about the one guy. I think that's a hard sell. But I do understand folks do see it that way. Handsome, is it possible to pull up who's responsible for Capitol security? Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. In fact, I've had folks on the show that illustrated that they actually called the DC the National Guard that deals with DC. I believe some folks are trying to say it was the mayor's job. Some folks are trying to say obviously Nancy Pelosi's job. Some folks are saying it's President Trump's job. Everybody has a different opinion on who it is. I had a caller state that they actually called into the National Guard or had somebody else do it or some politician did it or something like that. And the National Guard told them it's not Nancy Pelosi's job to call us. So, I think, doesn't the military operate on behalf of the president? Even if you are a National Guardsman, even if it's your governor's job to activate you. Now, we know the District of Columbia doesn't have a governor, but even if it's your governor's job to activate the National Guard, the president can still do that too. The point I'm trying to make is while the entire whole of DC is being held hostage because all of the Republican and Democratic senators and Congress people were in that building being pinned down and trying to be rescued by the Secret Service. Trump is the only guy roaming around free. Even if you believe it was Nancy Pelosi's job to send help, Trump roaming free, you're going to tell me he couldn't do nothing? He couldn't activate the U.S. military or do nothing at all? That doesn't make sense. I'm willing to even take it from the standpoint of folks suggesting Nancy Pelosi dropped the ball. If you believe that, that still doesn't excuse Trump sitting around quietly for several hours. Then activate the U.S. military. Obviously, Trump is in control of that. There are a host of military bases within range of D.C. Scramble some shit and get some things in the air. If Nancy Pelosi has dropped the ball, he didn't do that. So one way or another, it still leaves questions to be asked about President Trump as well. And as I stated with the last caller, if you knew several days ahead of time, according to what she said, that the National Guard needed to be involved, and you show up and they're not involved, and you already realize we've had a couple other rallies and Antifa's agitating and Black Lives Matter, why would you continue on with the protests? If the last two didn't go well to the point where you want the National Guard present to provide security. If they're not there, then you don't have the protest. It's just as simple as that. But the 3-4 hour gap of Trump doing nothing while we want to blame Nancy Pelosi for doing nothing does not excuse Trump, in my humble opinion. If Nancy Pelosi didn't activate the National Guard and Trump realizes that, didn't activate the military, he absolutely has the power to do that. And there's no sign that Trump tried to do anything to rescue that crowd. Nothing. He didn't call in any security of his own. That's inexcusable. Looking in the box, I do appreciate you folks. Could be anywhere you want to be on the app. I do appreciate you rolling with your boy. Going back to the box, Little Sixto Michael. Good evening. Trying to find out what the hell was the goal. A victorious day for President Trump on January 6th. What would that have looked like? What was the goal that day? Is it just simply to agitate what was going on? Is it to literally leave Mike Pence dangling from a rope? What was the goal? Or just to exercise your First Amendment right to protest? What was the goal? Truth is irony. Looking in the comments here, or better yet the box, the truth is irony. Good evening.
Hey man, what's going on? Bro?
Not much at all. Not much at all. What were they doing that day?
All right. So here's what I think is going to come out. There was a plan. The plan was that the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, and those guys were going to be the first wave at the Capitol to first get in and disrupt the counting of the votes. They were counting on Pence to give them more time by him rejecting the electors
Okay.
and causing them to recount or go through that process all over again. And in the meantime, those people that were at the rally with Trump were going to walk down there to the Capitol, and then they were going to complete the mission, which was overtake the Capitol. Trump would have to call in martial law. Then he would be able to remain in power through that process. Call it military takeover or whatever.
So you believe this was an orchestrated attempted takeover of the government?
Absolutely.
So-
Absolutely, there's no doubt.
So then I'm gonna ask you the
he
more.
went through all of the processes of trying to do it through the court system. And just like Rudy Giuliani said, they got plenty of theories but have no evidence.
But then if what you're suggesting is true, an attempted orchestrated takeover of the U.S. government, I'm gonna ask you the obvious question: why not have far more firearms? I mean, you're gonna take over the government, and only a few of you guys have weapons. Does that make any sense?
Okay, so what we found, what we've heard from the indictments is that they did have weapons, but they couldn't bring them to the Capitol. They had them off site, and if Plan A had went through, they would have eventually went and got those weapons and then did whatever they had to do with them. I think there was also some people probably on the inside that they were planning to help them as well. So
Like who?
there's video of officers opening doors and letting them in. So they had some people on the inside.
Wow.
I'm not really sure. I don't have all of the details, but I do believe that there was a plan and that Trump knew about it. And I'm not sure if he was involved in the planning because he's criminal-minded enough to know, to be smart enough to kind of stay away from that.
What is Trump? Wait a minute, I can't let you just say that. What has Trump did to make you suggest he is quote unquote criminal-minded?
Well, there's several things actually. He has been a crime boss for quite a while. For example, with his casinos. I don't know. I'm from Jersey, and he did something incredibly ignorant in Atlantic City, which was he had 2 casinos down here, and what he thought he was going to be able to do was drive everybody else out, the other casinos out, and then have a monopoly down there. But it didn't work. Those guys were smart enough to stick together, and he ended up bankrupting himself.
Yeah, but where's the crime? You called him a crime boss. Where's the crimes at?
Okay, well, anytime you conspire within an organization to try to squeeze other people out financially, now I'd have to kind of go back and look at some of the things that I've read as far as, I don't remember off the top of my head exactly some of the things that were borderline criminal activities where he couldn't be actually convicted for doing those things, but they were criminal and they were unfair.
I hear what you're saying. I don't think I'm quite hearing crimes. Maybe he was shady, or maybe he's an aggressive businessman or something like that, but I'm not hearing actual crimes.
So I'd have to do more research.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Actual crime part of it, but I mean, look at his taxes. That's criminal activity.
Yeah.
He's undervaluing when it's time
Listen, when it comes to the taxes, I'm not trying to exonerate Trump, but let's just be clear. I mean, are we not all a little bit, do we not all finagle the numbers a bit on we're not billionaires, so we can't lie about hundreds of millions of dollars, but I think that we all, to some degree, are a bit shady on our taxes, right? At least somewhere.
I won't disagree with that, but if either of us get caught, then we're going to jail.
Home run. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that.
And I think it's really shady that he was the actually shady and ironic that he was the only president since Nixon not to give his taxes. Now that Tisha James has come up with some of her evidence, now we know why.
Yeah.
We know why he wasn't. He didn't expose his taxes because there was some shady stuff in there, some illegal stuff. And it's funny, you got me on the crime aspect. His right hand guy, Michael Cohen, went to jail for what? For doing his dirty work.
Yeah.
That's a crime boss, bro. Donald Trump was individual one. Bill Barr would not allow Mueller to investigate Trump in any way. So that's why he was individual one and not a co-conspirator in that case. Now, Alvin Bragg is bringing up that same third. And if the justice system holds true, he's going to have to pay for that. I can't really say with any confidence that he's going to go to jail for that crime, but I'm pretty confident that the documents crime is.
So do you see, even what you believe in, that the documents, because some folks do believe the documents crime is an open and shut case, whether it is or isn't, do you see Trump actually being incarcerated ultimately?
If I don't know if he can get a deal. I don't know if Jack Smith, because here's the thing, man, Trump doesn't understand, or maybe he doesn't care, thinks he's above it. When you are in a position that he is, it's not time to play tough guy. It's time to be cooperative and humble. He doesn't have that in him. So
No.
Him challenging Jack Smith, calling him deranged, talking about his wife, all of these things. That's not who you want to be on their bad side, dude. That's just not smart politics.
No disagreement here at all. I don't think it makes any sense at all, whether you're in court for speeding or murder. It doesn't make any sense at all to criticize the judge that is overseeing your case. But truth, I gotta move it on. I don't see anywhere we're disagreeing on that. Appreciate you coming in, man.
Appreciate you having me. Thank you, sir.
Absolute. Looking in the comments here, and I do appreciate you folks that are following. Like I said, civilized dialogue, both sides of the aisle. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. So you don't have to agree with the host on the damn program. Nobody gives a damn if you agree with the host or not. I don't censor or limit your time in any way, fashion, or form simply because you disagree with yours truly. And as I always say, program shall forever remain MAGA friendly. MAGA are my preferred guests, but as you see, liberals are welcome on the program as well. Co-op 79. When Trump was told about the people with guns, he said, let them in. They weren't there to hurt him. That certainly came out during the January 6 hearings. That did come out because they were trying to usher both Trump and Vice President Mike Pence to safety and get them away from that event. And Trump did state, they're not here to hurt me. That did come out. And obviously that appears to be true. That they were not there to cause harm against President Trump. In fact, they were there on his behalf. So that did come out. But what about crime? Did Trump do anything illegal on January 6th? Or is it his First Amendment free speech right to assemble a protest there on the grounds? What did he do illegally is what we're asking. Just looking in the comments, many of us, okay, I've seen it. But I mean, what did he do that was an actual crime? That's what we're talking about. Real quick, we'll go back to the box. Keep it moving with Coach Briggs. Good evening. Welcome to the program. Talking about January 6th and what was the actual goal? What were they trying to accomplish there that day? Coach Briggs, what say you?
I do think I like to separate the two. I'd rather separate the rally from the actual actions that happened at the Capitol.
Okay.
And I think Donald Trump is being savvy enough. Yeah, I don't give him a lot of credit for being savvy, but I think he's being savvy enough that he has enough pawns that the pawns will fall before he does.
I agree.
If you follow. And I think that's what he's accomplished in many of these cases. Like you said earlier though, with the tax stuff, you know that's in the New York District Court. That's civilian. That's not federal.
Yeah.
So I think he has a tougher time with that than he does any of the federal cases.
The documents case, you think he may be able to defeat that?
I think so. I would say this, having been in the Navy myself and having had secret clearance, even our TAD orders, our temporary assigned duty orders, are considered classified.
Okay.
I know he can't declassify with it's a process that he has to go through.
Well, he told Hannity that he could declassify documents by just thinking about it.
Oh yeah, that's the ignorance. That's just ignorance.
So you don't believe that part is true?
No.
Okay.
I mean, he has enough advisors that he doesn't listen to anybody, but he has enough advisors to know good and well that's not the case.
Okay.
Now, I don't think it rises to the level of Donald Trump knowingly going out to commit treason. Donald Trump is a guy who lives off of hyperbole. So I can just see him showing that, hey man, look what I got. Look at the documents that I had. And not knowing that, this is nonsensical what you're doing.
But that is a crime, right?
Yeah, it rises to the level of a crime, but it doesn't rise to the level of treason. So that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying how much, I mean, the people that are looking for 15, 20 years, it's not going to happen. I just don't think.
You don't, wait, hold on a second. In regards to suggesting that the 15, 20 years sentence on Trump is not going to happen, I mean, the man is almost 80. You don't need to give him 15 to 20 years. I think 8 or 9 might be sufficient.
Well, I think that would be sufficient. Do you think, I know you're the host, but I'd like to ask you a question.
Sure.
Do you think that is the ultimate goal, to see him go to jail?
No.
For what he did?
No.
Or just to prevent him from running and putting the country in the place that he's put it before?
That's an excellent question. My response, you're asking is the ultimate goal to either lock Trump up and incarcerate him, or is it simply to prevent him from running for office? In my opinion, the original goal more likely was to prevent him from running for office because it became personal. However, I will tell you this. The more he continues talking and pissing people off, the more some of the folks are going to say, no, I want his ass in jail. I do believe the whole purpose of them going after him from a political standpoint from the beginning, whether it's to put him in jail or to prevent him from running, it's all because he keeps talking and pissing people off. And because he won't stop, next you're going to have judges wanting to put him in jail for contempt and things like that. He's talking about people's families and things like that. The judges don't have control over what defendant appears before them in court. So all of a sudden you're told that Trump is going to be the next defendant in your court, and all of a sudden he's on Truth Social criticizing you and talking about your family and shit like that. Judges don't like that. So even though there may be people going after Trump because they don't want him back in power, he's going to talk himself into folks saying, no, I want his ass in jail too. So I think that the latter, in answering your question, first it was a matter of, now I don't want to see him ever in power again. But because he continues to make things so damn personal, people are going to want him in jail too.
I absolutely agree. And it's once again, you go back to it's just his narcissist tendencies. That's what it is. He has to be right about everything. I have guys that I know that says 99% of the time he's correct. The other 1% he's misinformed. I'm like,
Wow.
But I wish, and I think now, truth be told, some of the actual mainstream Republicans actually want to see him go to jail.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. I agree with that 100% because, I mean, Trump has convinced his supporters that really the whole of Washington is untrustworthy, whether it is Republicans or Democrats. They don't, if you support Trump and you believe what Trump is saying, for the most part, nobody in Washington is trustworthy. So even if you are a Republican senator or congressperson, with him suggesting term limits and all of this other stuff, even as a Republican, you know this guy is a threat to your job security. So yeah, I believe there's a hell of a lot of Republicans that also want Trump to not appear in Washington again. But I want to ask you this real quick. Coming out of the comments, Co-op79 says, Trump's failure to act once the violence started is a violation of oath. He failed to protect lives. Do you believe Trump violated his oath on January 6th at all?
I won't say the failure. I would say his lack of aggression and his lack of expediency to react.
Yeah.
He should have done it much earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I said before. I was telling folks in the audience, if you believe Nancy Pelosi was responsible for the National Guard, I don't know if that's valid or not, but even if you believe that Nancy Pelosi was not providing National Guard assistance, the 4 hours Trump was doing nothing, he should have been activating the U.S. military. He is the ultimate, he's the commander-in-chief of the U.S. military, and if Nancy Pelosi dropped the ball, he sure did not step up to the plate and attempt to fill in that void.
I'm glad you got me on. I've been wanting to talk to you for a long time. I have one question.
Sure.
It bothers me because I'm an independent, and the question that I have is how are people who support Trump, as let's separate the regular conservative Republican Party from MAGA. And I hear all of these people talking about, and I'm from North Carolina, and I live in North Carolina now, and they all talk about, man, I do this, I don't care what Trump says, I'm with Trump, Trump is my king, Trump is man. How can you be MAGA and look at Trump as a king, yet you hate Putin and Xi?
Well, in regards to, Xi Jinping is a bit different, but in regards to Vladimir Putin, I think you and I would probably be on the same page in suggesting that I think Trump kind of wants to emulate himself after Vladimir Putin. But why does MAGA also support Vladimir Putin would be your question. In my opinion, it's because they view Vladimir Putin kind of like the United States from a standpoint of, if Canada or Mexico was talking about joining the Soviet Union in Russia's heyday, we would probably go to war, or at the very least try to interfere with the politics of Canada or Mexico as well. So what Russia is doing, while America is speaking negatively of it, I think we would do the same thing. We would not want the Soviet Union right there at our border as well. So I don't think what Russia is doing, even though I don't favor it at all, I don't think it's outside of the realm of what the United States would do. We all remember the Cuban Missile Crisis. We were not going to let Russian missiles be within 90 miles of the U.S. border. And that's 90 miles. Ukraine borders Russia. So while I'm not a fan of what Putin is doing, I understand it from a standpoint that I think America would do the same thing.
Well, I think too. I don't want to keep blinders on, but once again, this is just a military conspiracy coming out of me. I think that what Putin is doing in the Ukraine is a dry run for Xi to say, "Hey, look at what's going on over there," so he can attack Taiwan.
It may, you know something, and you're not the only one to suggest it, including Trump has also suggested that Xi Jinping is going to make a move on Taiwan. But in my opinion, Biden, for all folks who are suggesting he's sleepy or he's the reason why Vladimir Putin decided to act because he's a weak president, I think after seeing what happened to Russia under the Biden administration, I don't think Xi Jinping looks at Biden and says that's a weak leader. Because regardless of what you think about President Biden, America has significantly stepped up its assistance to the Ukraine, and we're putting the hurting on Russia. That's not to say Ukraine may not ultimately lose, but there is nobody who believes Vladimir Putin going into the Ukraine in February of 2022 expected to still be dealing with this shit in September of 2023. And that is all because of what's supposed to be a weak leader in President Biden. So I don't see China as looking at what's going on with Russia and saying, yeah, we want that too. They don't want to be dealing with Taiwan for 2 or 3 years like this. So I think, in my opinion, Biden has basically was greatly underestimated by Putin. If Putin decided to wait till Biden gets in office to do what he did, he really underestimated how Biden would respond.
Yeah, I totally agree. And then I think by sending the aid to Ukraine, it makes Xi he'll second guess. I don't think he'll make any kind of move, right out. And one more thing I like to tell some of my Republican friends and some of my Democratic friends that may not know it. The United States sends aid to all countries, and we've been doing it with every president. So stop saying, "Oh, we're sending all our money to Ukraine." We send our money everywhere, and Biden's not the first president to do it.
Fair enough. All right, Coach Briggs, appreciate you coming on. I think it's our first time talking.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Anytime you see me on, my door is always open to you, man. Appreciate you coming through.
I appreciate it.
Absolute.
All right, thanks.
You too. All right, looking in the comments real quick. Mama Sunshine, thank you for your generosity. I do appreciate that. Certainly appreciate you folks tapping the screen. Might get your boy to 50,000 likes if there's not some lazy thumbs in the house. So I do appreciate that. But nevertheless, that was the, Trump watched for 3 hours his oath to protect the citizens, foreign and domestic. He failed. Yeah, Co-op, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. We can talk about every single person we want from Nancy Pelosi on down that may have dropped the ball on January 6th. But that does not excuse Trump from sitting there for several hours while you got Chris Christie openly stating he tried to call Trump, stating that he called Ivanka and told her to call her dad, and Ivanka told him he's not answering the phone. You got Mike Pence, who said he reached out to President Trump, did not get an answer. All of these folks, I think Chris Christie said he called Kellyanne Conway, and she too told him she is not able to get through to President Trump. And I believe Kevin McCarthy, Speaker of the House, was another one that was actively trying to reach the president. So clearly, Trump was deliberately ignoring phone calls, screening the hell out of his phone calls. That's the time he should have been on the phone with the U.S. military, any of the various bases nearby, and scrambling whatever he could scramble. And obviously, 3 years later, there is no evidence that he called and tried to activate the U.S. military at all. Just blaming Nancy Pelosi. Like, what did you do for 4 hours? Nothing at all. In fact, when you look at him appearing on television, asking folks to calm down what happened, he's suggesting that he loves the folks that Nancy Pelosi dropped the ball in defending us from. He's on TV saying, we love you, go home. So I don't know how else to view that. It does not look good under any stretch of the imagination in regards to what happened on January 6th. So what was the goal? Listen, if I had to give my humble opinion on it, it's kind of like what some of the folks have suggested here. If not to overtake the United States government, it was at least to halt its function. And I want folks to understand the significance of this. When you're talking about cutting off the head of a snake, we use that phrase in regards to everything from stopping corruption to shutting down the function of a major entity. On January 6th, you had all of the top ranking members of the United States government in one building, with the exception of the president. You had the vice president, the speaker of the House, the whole of the Senate, the whole of Congress, all in one building at the same time. Now, in addition to what happened with protesters and things like that, one of the things, and I bring this up oftentimes because folks sometimes will compare the event of January 6th to the actions of Black Lives Matter. And one of the counterpoints I often make is on the world stage, what Black Lives Matter does is of no concern, even though it may be criminal. Obviously, setting fire to buildings and stores and things like that is a crime. But on the world stage, what happened on January 6th had to open the eyes of Xi Jinping in China and Vladimir Putin in Russia. Which would make, what happens if we had to drop the bomb on that building that day? We could have took out our entire adversary with one missile. They were all in one building at the same damn time. I would assume that maybe Russia or China didn't even know we do things like that. Like, you mean they put all of these people in the same building at the same time? We could have had a few sleeper cells go to that building and take it over, because it was taken over by a host of unarmed people. It's an embarrassment on the world stage. From that standpoint, comparing it to Black Lives Matter, to me, doesn't make any sense, because that really exposed a huge vulnerability with the U.S. government to our adversaries. You mean a bunch of unarmed people was able to take over the entire head of the U.S. government, with the exception of President Trump. Just want to make it clear to you folks how close we came to really having our leadership in this country completely destroyed. Now, I understand some of my beloved MAGA has no tolerance for the head of this country anyway. You guys don't like a bunch of them as well. So you're entitled to that opinion. I'm not going to tell you you're not entitled to your opinion, but at the end of the day, that was 99% of our leadership in that one building. All of Senate, all of Congress, and the vice president in that one building. We can speculate back and forth what the goal of MAGA may have been on that day, but understand what was able to be accomplished had they properly organized things. Just understand what could have happened if those folks had got their hands on the likes of Mike Pence, Nancy Pelosi, and others. I'm going to understand totally that some folks believe that they were just yelling and stuff and they never meant to harm anybody. But at the end of the day, when you see what happened to the Capitol Police, there is no denying that some folks in that crowd did mean to harm people. How many angry protesters does it take to subdue Nancy Pelosi, or even Mike Pence for that matter? You don't need the whole crowd to be angry. You only need a very small handful of them to be willing to take action while the rest of them stand around and cheer it on. It's not like anyone is going to step in and try to save Nancy Pelosi. It wouldn't have happened. So I have a hard time accepting anyone suggesting that if they had got their hands on Nancy Pelosi, her safety would not have been in danger. These folks are walking around the hallway looking for her. I believe one may have shit on her desk, according to reports. And the notion is that they had found her, nothing would have happened to her. Same thing with Mike Pence. Folks, to this day, nearly 3 years later, are suggesting that the man is a traitor to his country. But on the day when they were the most upset, nothing would have happened if they had got their hands on him. That's a hard pill to swallow. That is a hard pill to swallow. Nevertheless, it is your boy Tim, the Handsome Liberal. I do appreciate you folks tuning in. 52,000 likes. Certainly a pleasure having that. Going to go ahead and terminate the program. I'll catch you guys tomorrow afternoon at noon. See ya. For you folks tuning in on YouTube, I do appreciate a few of you. I'm going to see if I can tune it up. You can see, because you normally cannot see the monitor and things like that. The program on YouTube is being broadcast on a tablet, so it is also in landscape mode. And you know, TikTok is in portrait mode, so a different mode. But anyhow, I just wanted to show you what we're doing. Anyway, looking at the comments before I move it on. Looking in the comments here. Why would Trump go to jail in a rigged system? Laugh out loud. Y'all steady getting bamboozled. Why would Trump go to jail in a rigged system? Well, if you don't believe he would go to jail in a rigged system, why do you believe he would win an election in a rigged system? Why do you believe he would escape jail in a rigged system? I don't know what the outcome of President Trump will be, but in my humble opinion, it probably will not be favorable for the former commander-in-chief. It's your boy Tim, the Handsome Liberal. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I appreciate you tuning in. Have a good night.